my career in 89 when I joined the telco, and I stayed there for 5 years. I created the Transit Business and International Relations Department, where I worked with all the international telecom companies to negotiate the tariffing for international calls. In 1994, I had one daughter, and I decided I've had too much of telecom knowledge. I wanted to expand my knowledge base, so I joined Bank of Bahrain and Kuwait. And initially, I was in retail marketing. 2 years after that, I joined the investment department. And I learned a lot there in structuring investment projects.
This was based in Bahrain, though?
Based in Bahrain,
because
yes.
at that year, that was near
the peak of the investment when GFH started and all these financial organizations that were really heavy into investment offerings. And I had the investment department. I used to travel every Saturday. I had Qatar and UAE market, and I used to come back on Thursday back home. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to know a lot of people. I learned a lot. Structuring investment projects, commodities, different structures. I even worked in the operations department for a year so that I understand the technical details of how you create an investment fund. And then I went into the placement so that I understand the customer's appetite and what basically they want when it comes to investments. 2002, I got an offer from Shamil Bank, which is now Ithmar, which is now Salam, to be in their marketing department.
That's my bank, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, that's the one I use.
Okay, they're a good bank. I joined them for 3 months, and before my probation ended, I decided I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I joined somebody as a partner, and we started a real estate investment company. After that, we went into a joint venture with Arab Tech as a construction company exclusively for Bahrain. We set up architecture, interior design company, and it was booming because real estate between 2002 to 2008, until the crash happened, it was basically the hype.
And where was it mostly from internal investment that people wanted to do projects being built, or was it from outside, FDI, foreign direct investment?
Mostly internal. We were focusing specifically on affordable housing and creating very small plots that people can afford to buy and build their dream home. And that was the strategy that we focused on. And we joint ventured into these projects with Islamic banks, where they basically took 50% of the project, financed our 50%, 12 months, we subdivide, we sell, we basically make triple digits IRR, and
Fantastic.
we're out, completely
Fantastic.
out. But I was worried. I was scared. I felt it was a bubble, and I did a major mistake, even though I was 5 years in the investment department, of putting all your eggs in one basket, because I had a real estate investment company, construction company, architecture, interior design company, so everything was real estate, real estate, real estate. If there's a crash, all my group will crash.
Stuck.
And this is where I started freaking out, and everybody was laughing at me. So what's wrong with you? The real estate is booming. Nothing was going to happen. I said, no, something will happen, and I'm worried. And that was 2005. So my brother was in Australia. He was doing his consultancy. He's a doctor, and he said, Sonya, there is this chocolate concept here. You would love chocolate, and you should, investigate it. And I realized we never have that high quality chocolate concept in Bahrain. And every time I travel, or anybody of my family travels, we always come back with a suitcase filled with high quality chocolate. And when I mean high quality, it means it has low cocoa butter, low sugar, and no additives, no preservatives, like the Swiss chocolate or Belgian chocolate, or European in general.
Does dark matter at all?
Of course.
I'm not a chocolate expert. I eat it, but I don't know about it.
Anything above 75% is healthy chocolate.
Okay.
So it's literally as good as taking an aspirin a day. It basically enhances your blood circulation. It basically makes you a happier person.
Your brother really sold you on it.
No, so genuinely, this is a true fact. Scientifically, it's proven. They say pregnant women who have chocolate of 75 and above deliver happier babies. And now you can imagine.
How would you test that?
Well, I have tested it.
Yeah? You asked the infant.
No. Not the infant, but when I sat in my shop, I used to just go there and just watch people indulge in chocolate. And you would see somebody coming grumpy and, frustrated. And the moment they order the fondue and they start dipping their cakes or their fruits in the chocolate, even if it is milk, if it's a good quality, you see the complete face reaction changes. You see this calmer person sitting there and smiling. Okay, you know that, okay,
you're doing something right.
You're doing something right. So we basically sat and studied this concept of opening chocolate for a better world, where we wanted to basically bring together chocolate fans. There was no demographics.
Okay.
There's no age group. There's no gender differentiation. It's literally chocolate fans, regardless who you are, what's your background, which income status you are. As long as you're a chocolate fan, you would basically enjoy it. And we sat studying this concept for a year. Every month we had one country and chocolates were brought from that country. We used to send somebody, so we basically test the flavors, the fillings, the size, the packaging, everything, the marketing materials. And in 2006, we launched Myla Chocolaterie as the first chocolate bar concept made in Bahrain. Created by Bahrainis, a full Bahraini team behind it, developing it, strategizing it. And we had one objective. We wanted to be the first franchise model to go out of Bahrain. And in 3 months, we did sign the first franchise agreement. And we franchised it to Qatar, and we expanded all over the Middle East. And it was doing amazing for them and for us.
And so how was your distribution? Were you selling it to supermarkets or direct to customer?
Directly. We either sell it directly to customers or we basically sell it to the franchisees on a monthly basis. The chocolate is made in Bahrain. We actually bring the raw chocolate here and we process it and we produce it, and we use a lot of the local ingredients. So we work with all of our suppliers, other than the raw chocolate, are local suppliers because we want them to benefit. It's a cycle. We work with dates, we work with spices like cinnamon, cardamom, saffron, and nuts. We use a lot of nuts to infuse with our chocolate and give that high quality product.
But yeah, so from all the investment options you could have chosen, your brother convinced you on chocolate. Were there any other investments that you were thinking of at the time?
Definitely. We were basically between two areas. We were between healthcare and F&B. But unfortunately, the central bank classifies healthcare as real estate as well, because it's not about the project, it's about where it is based.
Oh, really?
So if I had gone into healthcare, I would have been still in the real estate business. And when 2008 collapsed and market crashed, real estate market, and we made major losses in our other companies, the actual chocolate company balanced our losses and we sustained the model.
But I've recently read, I think it was in The Economist, do you know what the best indicator is for a potential market crash? Men's underwears. Isn't that unbelievable?
Oh God!
Yeah, the sale of men's underwears is a predictor of whether the market crashed it.
That's the first.
Yeah, it blew me away when I first heard about that. I mean, it's similar to the Big Mac index isn't anymore a real thing. That's gone now. But that was how it was usually measured.
But this is part of being an entrepreneur. You need to strategize things. You need to have a vision. You can't basically say, "Oh, it's doing good. I'm happy. I'm fine. I don't need to do anything else." You always need to have a backup strategy in case things turn against you, and you can at least balance the operations. You have responsibility. You have your employees. You have your team who are partners, who are making it work, and you have your customer base as well, and you can't let any of them down. So it is a major responsibility. I was telling somebody the other day, I can't remember having a vacation since I've become an entrepreneur, because even when you are on vacation, you still cannot disconnect yourself.
It's like being a parent, isn't it?
Exactly. It's your baby, and you still need to be there. You need to be on top of things. Okay, you delegate, yes, you basically train and develop, but you still need to be there. They need you to be there. They need to feel you're there. You don't just disappear and shut down and you're not there anymore. So yeah, since 2002, I have not had a single vacation where I shut down completely.
A friend of mine used to say, you choose to work 100 hours so you don't have to work 30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me more. So the whole chocolate business, what kind of market rate are we looking at? We're looking for the higher end market, I assume, right? You can be fair.
This is the beauty of Maya. We created chocolate for a better world.
Sure.
What it means basically, you don't need to be rich to afford it.
Sure.
It's basically we benchmarked it to the Godiva.
Sure.
And the La Dore's, but we also priced it conveniently so that everybody can afford it.
Sure.
And that was our objective. Now, we cannot control how franchisees price their products.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
different.
you don't put that in the contract.
We give them the flexibility because take Qatar as example. If you don't price it within the expectation of what is it, their standards, it's not going to sell.
Absolutely.
So what we sold here for 30 BD was being selling for 90 BD in Qatar, and people were buying it because it's the purchasing power, it's the perception of the consumer. And this is where we listen to the franchisees and we give them the right to modify their price factors and adjust it based on what their market demands. In Jordan, it was a completely different ballgame. These products, the chocolates, were not part of the retail. They were focused more on the desserts, and this is what was doing well. And Maya is basically created the concept where you can have desserts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we maintained having our menu 99% focused on chocolate. Even the few savory items always had a secret chocolate ingredient in it. So you'd be eating bread, but it's actually has chocolate it's made original. It's not brown bread, it's chocolate bread, but it's got a salty component to it, so it gives you that same.
So that's your USP. Everything has cacao in it.
Everything has cacao in it.
Okay, and where did the name Maya come from?
We basically, when we were studying the concept, we went back to the origins, the Mayans.
The Mayans, I was about to say. Okay.
Who actually discovered, and when the Spanish discovered the Mayans, they started the barter agreement with them where they brought for them a lot of products from Europe, and in exchange they took this medicinal drink that the Mayans used, and they used to use pure cocoa, grind it into a powder or a liquor, and add to it honey, or not honey actually, honey later, add to it cinnamon and cayenne pepper. And drink it when you have throat infection or chest congestion or a cough. So when the Spanish brought it to Europe for over 100 years, it was the secret drink of the kings and queens. Only royalties indulged. And they started adding honey to it. Later, people discovered and they started adding milk to it, and that's when milk chocolate was created, and the Cadburys and the Hershey's, started evolving into chocolate.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
But it's also sad because cocoa originally came from that part of the world, but then because of climate change, they lost a lot of their production. Today, 70% of the cocoa comes from Africa, comes from Cote d'Ivoire, comes from Ghana, comes from Madagascar, and then the other balance, 30%, comes from Central and South America.
Oh, fascinating. And do you think that right now on how your business is structured, with how climate change is potentially looking to alter your distribution, you're constantly then looking for potential new markets to import from, I would assume, right?
We are. I just came back from Cote d'Ivoire, and I was there to basically review the opportunity of setting up a cocoa production company where we actually take the beans and downstream it into processing it that would add value to the country and would basically create the raw chocolate that we want. Because now we're working with a European company that processes the raw chocolate to our specification. But we're now, from 2006, we know enough about chocolate to start our own operation. And now it's time to get into that business. So I went there for 2 days, a beautiful country. I met the farmers. Had a good talk with them. UNIDO is supporting us on this project. They basically set up all the meetings and everything, and now we are doing the initial basic business plan to see the costs involved and how to start the project.
So you're looking currently to go more upstream?
Yes.
And do you have any plans to go downstream as well?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. So you're already doing direct to customers by your franchise business.
Yes.
And have you not considered at all to go through the supermarket enterprise
We
and
did,
stuff?
we did, honestly. But
Because that would be my first guess.
I'll tell you, our chocolate the quality is so good. It's too expensive for supermarkets.
Even high-end supermarkets?
Even high-end supermarkets.
Okay.
The chocolate that you're buying off the shelf is not chocolate, it's candy.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 80% sugar and cocoa butter. And then you have less than 10% cocoa. So for us to do that, that's a no-no for us. We would definitely not go below the 35%.
Of course.
Because we basically
You have shareholders as well.
No, we have a responsibility. Our stakeholders are our customers, and we have a responsibility that we want to give them high quality chocolate. Once we start the raw chocolate production ourselves, we will be in a better stage to do the retail and the supermarket mass production, because we will have access to the quality, high quality raw chocolate that we will be creating, and we can tackle the margins more efficiently to cater for the mass market retail production.
I think the probably the best way of doing that would be setting up a sister brand and
Definitely.
then distributing it under a different name. You know, Nestle does the same. All big chocolate companies.
Definitely.
Target industries.
Yes,
Segmentations.
but that's the idea. We want to do a number of things. We want to distribute raw chocolate to the entire Middle East, and you know, Switzerland never grows cocoa trees, but it is known
the king of
to
chocolate.
be the king of chocolate. Okay, we can still do the same as Bahrain. We can process the cocoa beans back in Africa, bring it to here and distribute it from here everywhere in the Middle East, and give access to high quality raw chocolate, and then create that line of retail as well. This is the two main objectives that we want to focus on for going into the bean to bar production.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Do you mind bringing up the website again, Dan? And did you set up your franchises the same way as, I mean, I don't want to say it, but same way as McDonald's, and making sure, you know, that your franchisor,
Yes.
you know, buys the tables, the machines?
And this is why they all defaulted, and we basically withdrew the franchise agreements from them. We basically, we franchised to Qatar, and then Qatar took 4 other countries. They took UAE, they took Oman, they took Lebanon, and Jordan. And the reason why they took it is because it was a cash cow. You know, nobody's going to go into 5 countries if it wasn't a good brand.
Oh, absolutely.
And but parallel to that, they started trying to impose their style, thinking they know best how the brand should work. And one of it is they wanted to change the menu to make it more
candy-like,
savory, more savory.
Okay.
More savory and less desserts. That defeats the purpose of Maya. We don't want to be like everybody else. We don't want to compete with my colleagues here, for example, like Lilo, and they're doing a fabulous job. But why would I compete with them if they're doing a great job? Why do I want to be them? They don't want to be Maya, and I don't want to be Lilo. They're doing great. If you want to have savory, you go to Lilo, and then you come to Maya and have your dessert. So it basically makes sense. But they had many defaults, and we had to withdraw the franchise agreement from them.
That must have been very difficult.
We basically lost 80% of our cash flow in one day. And
how did that go over with the investors?
Very bad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No, it was very bad. But also, we took that decision because we sat with the investors and we told them, listen, do you want to maintain the brand or do you want to sell out? They basically said, we understand we're going to make major losses. Let's keep the brand. Because also, one of the drawbacks was they wanted to buy the brand at their price because they have 5 countries and take it to be a made in Qatar brand rather than a made in Bahrain brand. We had absolutely no problem for them coming on board as partners, and we offered it to them. Come on board as partners. You can even have majority. We love working with you. We have 5 countries. We've been, one group since we started in 2006. But I don't know.
If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
It was not meant to be. We both lost. Let's put it that way. We lost, and it was a big hit for us because the individual, the consumer who's outside seeing a brand lose 5 countries in one day would not think the problem is the franchisee, would think the brand is the problem, especially if the franchisee was a big shot.
Sure.
And parallel to that, we had another country, Saudi, franchised to a different person. He started to get ideas. The problem that we have is that in this part of the world, even if you own the trademark, you don't have the protection mechanisms for the trademark that you own.
Wasta's wasta.
Exactly. Even if you have a solid franchise agreement that's literally 30 pages, that takes a personal guarantee from the franchisee, when you go to court, they don't understand how to apply it in your favor. And it took us 2 years to shut the shops down. What they did is they literally removed the signboard Maya and added a new name, but everything else was Maya. So if you're walking in that mall and you see the shop, you would not see there's a different name up there. You say, oh, that's Maya. And you just go in there and it's the same menu pictures, the trademarked concept. And we own the trademark in every country. But we could not emphasize our brand responsibilities in the countries through the ministries of commerces. If you're in Europe or in your US and somebody abuses your brand, you don't need to go to court. You go to the Ministry of Commerce of that country. I own the trademark. This company is abusing my brand. They go and shut them down. And by the way, Bahrain does that here. Honestly, Bahrain does that. Somebody used our logo in exact the same type font for a abaya shop. Ministry of Commerce notified us, and they give that company 5 weeks to change, or they're going to take them to court.
Brilliant.
Not Sonya Janahi, not Chocolaterie. Ministry of Commerce would take them to court.
Brilliant.
But when you go to the neighboring countries, sadly, you cannot apply that. And this is where we got hit.
A lack of consistency.
Unfortunately.
That's in the Gulf. That's sadly the case. But the good thing is that you already own the upstream. The only thing that hurt you was your supply side, right? I mean, your distribution.
It's 5 countries.
Yeah, I'm trying to paint it positively.
Yeah, we survive on royalties.
Sure.
And this is basically what makes the company sustain, because whatever you do at your headquarters is the operations part to support. The shops you open in Bahrain is mainly a training hub, so that the franchisees bring their employees, they train, they get prepared, they get tested, and then they go to the country where they're establishing and they're ready to jump on the next day and open the shop. You have the laboratory in Bahrain, you do your tests, your trials. We had an operations of 150 people. We had to cut down to 30 people.
Ooh, that's
How
painful.
many families lost their jobs? You know, when you fire somebody, it's not that individual, it's an entire family.
That suffers,
We tried
yeah.
to relocate them to other
Industries.
businesses, other industries, but not everybody,
Makes the cut, yeah.
Exactly. And some of them had to go for a lower paid job. So it wasn't something that only affected the investors and the shareholders. It in fact affected the entire group.
And when was this happening roughly?
This was basically in 2015.
Okay, so you had the recession 2018. The
Yep.
economy was still recovering for the first 3-4 years, right? Things were starting to look good, and then you get slapped down.
I get slapped down.
At least hindsight, now you burnt your hands, but at least you learned your lesson.
I did.
To-
and this is
to
why
choose.
I basically nominated myself for the board position in the chamber. It's because I want to try as much as I can to stop these problems. I don't want everybody else to suffer, every entrepreneur to suffer like I've suffered. If I can have a platform where my voice can be heard, I need to use that platform to the best possible. Today, we managed with the chamber to have the GCC ministers of commerce agree that they need to have a unified law to protect franchisees. And this has happened. Now they're working on the policies and the procedure, but at least something is happening. And you just can't basically fall flat on your face and keep quiet about it. You don't need to be shamed. This is how we learn. But also you need to make sure if something goes wrong, you work on fixing things for others, not just, shy away and pretend nothing has happened and sit in your cocoon and try to, mend your
I agree.
your
I mean, we live also in the
feelings.
21st century, right?
Exactly. And if this happened to me and I don't do something to protect other local entrepreneurs, and by the way, 98% of the businesses in Bahrain are SMEs, and that tells you something. And 98% of the businesses are eating from each other because you're living in a country that has limited purchasing power, limited consumers,
limited resources.
Limited resources, and today Saudi is booming. There's a big drop on the number of Saudis who we relied 99.9% on to come to Bahrain as a major purchasing power. So what do? If they don't globalize, if they don't create brands that has a global appetite, that can be a global, have a global presence, and they're not protected also.
I mean, I spoke
to square one.
To JC from Batelco,
Yeah.
and he was mentioning about how difficult it is with Zayn now coming into the market in Bahrain, and because their war chest is just so huge, since they've had a population with Saudi of almost 31 million, I think, currently what the total population is. So now they're aggressively entering Bahrain. I mean, you just have to look at the airport that you see Zayn advertisement everywhere.
You've got Zayn, you've got STC.
STC is also killing it. And so Batelco is really suffering at the moment, especially since they haven't gone internationally soon enough.
Yeah.
They were too holed up locally.
That's the sad part, yeah. Batelco should have expanded more globally because they have the expertise. I'm an ex-Batelco. I know what they're capable of, and they've got an amazing team that was developed over years and years. They could easily set up anywhere and grab a share of that market, a bigger market.
The same, I think, is also true with Alba. They've been looking at upstream owning a mine for close to 20 years, and they haven't made a call yet. Now, it's harder and harder to find any kind of alumini mine. I mean, I worked for a little bit at Batelco, at Alba. But they're still.
But speaking of Alba, one of the things that's really annoying is that the value that Alba has to the GDP and how it can be developed extensively if they focus on the downstream more efficiently, Instead of shipping the raw product outside, you can basically encourage your buyers today to be based here and give them what they need when it comes to subsidies on utilities, on export, and have the end product exported from Bahrain.
Totally agree.
You could even have Airbus come here and make their wings
Absolutely.
here. Today, Airbus is a buyer of Alba aluminium, but why can't they do it here? You're strategically located geographically. You have the proper shipping lines and everything. You just need to basically put things into proper perspective and create that zone for them that gives them the comfort. And you can still make it a green zone, believe it or not, even though it's industrial, because it's downstreaming, and you can create training. You can create 62,000 jobs if you focus on downstreaming of Alba. And I'm not talking about this out of my head. It's because one of the projects that we basically working on back in 2004. And we never succeeded in implementing it in spite of all the positive indications of how much value it will add in developing and training Bahrainis, creating job opportunities, adding, to the GDP, enhancing the GDP, enhancing export. You are a country that has no raw materials. Imagine how you would enhance export. But now I can see EDB has that on their agenda, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
To happen.
I mean, the UK has been doing this for years and years and years, right? They just do assembly for cars, and that's how they got all these car manufacturers to locate there and just export it directly to Europe. And there's no reason why Toyota, why Mercedes, or any other car company can't do the assembly in Bahrain and then export it to the rest of the Gulf countries.
Privileges here that are much better than countries where they're based. So either way, they're gonna be savings for these organizations if they're based here, and if you just package it properly, it will add value.
Absolutely. I mean, manufacturing is going through a transition at the moment. More and more is becoming automation and machine-heavy labor. Yeah. So it's tough to say what's going to happen with supply chains. A lot of the people I've been speaking to, they've been mentioning how manufacturing jobs are going to disappear from China and move back into their local customer areas, so like US and stuff like that, just because of how developed now automation is.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting world, and we're going to see how all that is going to
work out.
Wonderful. So you went from chocolate, and then where did you go next?
I'm still in chocolate.
Still in chocolate,
I'm still in
alhamdulillah.
chocolate, and today we are in a position where we are about to do a rights offering to bring in more investors
Fantastic.
and expand the company to a bigger level. COVID, of course, did more damage to the organization because
Really?
It did.
I would think that, because do you supply directly to customers? No, only through shops.
Exactly, and not just that, the cost of raw materials and the shipping costs is what affected us. Plus, of course, dine-in affected us. We had to close our outlet immediately, early 2019, and focus on delivery, but also not everything can be delivered. There are certain products you need to have it fresh there. The moment you deliver it, it's soggy, it's not the same flavor, it's not the same temperature, so more than 70% of our products are not deliverables. They basically have to be bought and eaten
And consumed,
and consumed in the shop. We did create packages where get well soon, and
Absolutely.
I miss you and all that stuff, and it worked well. Not that it didn't, but we worked on a concept where we basically focus on cash flow rather than profit because we wanted to sustain the model, and we needed to make it price efficient for consumers to be able to afford it based on the negative vibes that was happening and how people were so down and everybody was so depressed.
Yes, of course.
So it was more focusing on cash flow and sustainability rather than creating a profitable business. So the last 2 years has been very difficult for the shareholders because the company was just running on the basis of sustaining the model. And now today, when COVID is slightly controlled, it's still not over, but slightly controlled, you have the hikes in prices because you're in an inflation position, you have a war happening in Europe. Transportation prices have gone 3,000%. So imagine your packaging costs have gone up 3,000%. And you can't afford to sell something at that rate to the local consumers. It's never going to work. So you have to be creative and make things locally, but also still prices are high. Parallel to that, competition has increased. In spite of COVID, in spite of negativity, we have seen an uprise in the number of CRs, especially in the F&B. Everybody's starting to open an F&B and close in 10 months, sadly, many of them. We have a shortage in laborers, local employees and expats because it's so expensive to hire from outside and bring people from outside. And the locals, even with the support that Ministry of Labor and Temkeen are doing, there is still a shortage. We do have a shortage when it comes to hiring. It takes us, what took us before 1 month to find potential candidates is taking us 6 months.
I mean, I can attest to that. Yeah. Finding just my 2 guys, that took me almost 3 months.
Exactly.
I've gone through hundreds of CVs, and to find anyone who was qualified.
And perception of people has changed. They would rather work in either a big organization, conglomerate, or a public organization rather than an SME, because they can see that SME has risk factors and they don't want to take more risks that would jeopardize their lifestyle, their families, and so on.
I mean, inflation in the US has almost been up by 10%. They've been now talking about increasing interest rates if it hasn't happened already. Yeah. So it looks like we're going through a downward cycle. I mean, people have been talking about a potential recession for the last 6 years, right? Yeah, it's been a long time.
Recession is here. Inflation is definitely here. The day, for example, Central Bank announced end of June that they're not going to defer loans anymore. The raw materials in the food industry went up 40%, same day, 40%. And my operations team were crying. I said, listen, you cannot put that 40% on the consumer. Nobody's going to buy from you. Nobody. You have to be creative enough to basically control the costs.
Absolutely.
And today, with the inflation and the recession, again, we're back to cash flow. Focus on cash flow. Don't focus on profits. Don't focus on anything else because you have a very limited market. You have people who are very creative and working from home, and they don't have those costs that we have, LMRA costs and VAT costs and everything. You're literally competing against such...
By the way, do you believe people working from home? Do you think that's a good idea, honestly?
In the food industry, no. I don't think it's a good idea. And this is one of the concepts we're working on now, and we hope that the Ministry of Commerce will support us and Ministry of Health, because you don't know how they're making it. And what we're trying to create is this lab concept where we would rent by hour.
Okay.
Or by day, but it would be a location like a cloud kitchen, for example, similar to that.
Oh, okay.
But it's also targeting being an incubator, accelerator, and a cloud kitchen at the same time. And we're actually working on this concept called Maya Lab, where if you're somebody who has a home business, we will encourage you to have a virtual CR and you operate from this kitchen that we're making, where it has HACCP license, it has ISO license, and it will train and develop you to the standards that you would be ready and test and try your product in the shop that relates to this concept as well, including deliveries and pickups, and test your product if it's viable enough for you to set up your own business without you going through the hassle of setting up a full business and then losing up to 100,000 dinars of fit outs and kitchen equipment and everything.
That's a lot of sunk cost.
Realizing it's not working.
And how would that, so would it be more like an academic style where you would be actually training potential staffs on how to recreate?
It would be a mix of both. It would actually, what would happen is we would basically have the incubator and accelerator project and the cloud kitchen project and a cafe outlet.
Okay.
Now you would train, now anybody coming, even using the cloud kitchen, has to go through a training induction program where you train them and you would license them to operate. The machinery, the equipment, the hygiene protocol, the style of packaging.
Food and safety, right.
Food and safety, you need to know these basics.
Yeah.
So even if you're not in the accelerator incubator program, you need to have the food basic safety protocol to be able to operate there. Even if you're going to rent it 1 hour a day, you still need to go through that program. Now that program will be happening the moment you start renting. It will automatically be given to you free of charge because we want to develop and train the standard, high-level standards that Bahraini people can achieve, or people in Bahrain. They don't have to literally be Bahraini. Anybody who lives here and wants to operate a business model. Okay,
and but the business model would have to, I imagine, be focused around food or desserts or in that industry.
Yeah, initially we're focusing, now this is the issue, you cannot mix hot food and desserts kitchen together. So initially we will be doing a model that will be exclusively focused on desserts and chocolates, and later we will do a replica of the same kitchen that will be focusing on hot food.
And the cafe perspective would be a way to bring profit, I think, into the venture?
It would be a self-sustainable model of an accelerator and an incubator.
I like it.
Where you would actually, even from the renting of the kitchen, would actually self-sustain the model and not just rely on somebody funding it for life. You would need initially investors to come on board and fund it, but eventually 3 years down the road it will be self-sustainable, and then you can even franchise the model.
Are you looking for public or private investors?
Both
at the moment. And I like the idea with the cafe business, because then that gives a testing ground immediately.
Yes, you would actually have your products there and the fridges, and people, you would see how much you're selling, plus the individuals that will go through the program, we would have every 3 months, we would have 2 programs of 10 candidates. The top 3 will actually have pop-ups that they will test for a whole month. That pop-up is part of this, which has an outdoor seating even and everything. And then we will take them into the next phase of having their own individual setup with investors, with an angel investor supporting them, and then going out completely. So you'd literally, the problem with the accelerators and incubators is you just can't let them go the moment they successfully exit the program. They need angel investors with them. They need funding, and you cannot impose on them, go take bank finance. That's what kills an SME. Bank finance with its high costs kills an SME. You need an angel investor or a venture capital that would believe in the concept based on the testing and trial that we've done, based on the success rates that they have achieved. and give them that opportunity to flourish. One of the reasons why the SMEs today are not succeeding in Bahrain, it's because they're relying on bank loans.
I think it's not just the financial aspect that is hurting a lot of these entrepreneurs. I think it is the lack of support.
Of course, you
right?
need people on the board with you to support. It's a mentorship
Exactly,
program.
exactly.
To support to gain the knowledge on how to run a company.
Exactly. That's why you need that VC or angel investor who can give you those contacts, who can help you with the steps necessary of getting where you need to go.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's a lovely concept. I think it definitely has potential.
It does. It definitely has potential of creating correct, businesses in the correct way, guiding them, directing them, and giving them an opportunity to create a lifestyle for themselves.
And how did this idea come about? You just woke up one day and you're like, listen, this is struggling. How are other people doing
exactly. It came out of how we struggled. If we had people on the board with us that would support us, we would have been in a different ball game today. If we had investors that would fund us instead of us taking bank loans, we would have a better IRR today because we would not be. And initially what happened is, as shareholders, we took personal loans and injected it into the company. Oof. So that hurt us as well. And today we don't have that infrastructure where SMEs can be valued, and that valuation would be the collateral that would be given to the bank. You need to basically put in personal assets or personal guarantees to get that funding to run your business operations, and that's risky. I did it, and that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not how internationally things are done. So it's about time our investment banks and our local high net worths and family businesses invest in local businesses and support them to get to global recognition.
Totally agree.
You can't expect them to do alone, and you can't expect Export Bahrain to do this alone. Because Exports Bahrain role is not to bring in financiers and investors. Their role is to open doors, but there is a gap that's missing. You have Export Bahrain that opens the door for you internationally. You have the know-how. You have Bahraini people have the guts. They are creative. They think outside the box. But you have that middle part that's missing, that VC structure.
What do you think with the amount of people that I have sitting in your chair, the one common thing I keep hearing is, and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, they keep saying Bahrainis need to leave Bahrain, go work wherever, and then come back and bring that knowledge into Bahrain. And I feel it's almost sad in an aspect because there's so lack of opportunities in the sense of being able to support, of starting your business, doing this, doing that it's almost in your own benefit to leave, go to Dubai, go to Saudi, go to wherever, go to US, study, work, spend 10, 15, 20 years, and then come back.
I'll tell you something. I studied in Bahrain. I even did my master's from Bahrain. It was Hull University, but I studied here.
Mashallah.
I worked all my life here. I graduated here. I worked on my life here. My daughter, I pushed her to go outside when she graduated, and she went to Abu Dhabi and worked for 2 years there, but then she came back. She did learn, yes. She learned to be independent. She learned to basically be self-sufficient. She learned in the sense of her network circle got bigger. She got to know more people. She knows people living in different parts of the world. And then she brought back that knowledge and she started working here. But when I compare myself to her, okay, did she learn something I didn't learn locally? No. I have a big circle of networks because of the jobs that I took in Batelco and BBK. It all depends on you as an individual, how you network, how you basically, as I said, think outside the box. And Bahraini people have that initiative. You don't need to be working outside to get that initiative. You work outside because maybe there is an opportunity better than here.
Okay.
But Bahrain has the ideal platform for you to test your project if you want to become an entrepreneur. Because you have organizations like Temkeen and you have organizations like Bahrain Development Bank. You test it, you try it out, but whatever you test and try, you need to make sure it has a global appetite.
Of course.
For you to replicate it outside. And then you bring in your investors to take it out. A lot of people are asking me why I don't expand in Bahrain and open more shops. Why would I do that? I'm talking to the same people. Bahrain is so small. Why are people so lazy? You have the delivery techniques or systems available like Talabat and Jahiz and all these here. We have our own delivery team as well. Why would I go and invest 200,000 dinars in opening another coffee shop in Hamala?
Yeah, and you're not even sure how much revenue that's going to generate.
Exactly. Why don't I use that 200,000 dinars and open it in Sharqiya, or open it in Riyadh,
Dubai,
or in Dubai, or open a pop-up in London,
Absolutely.
or in Singapore? This is how they should think. One of the other problems that we have in the F&B is that as small as we are, we don't have the delivery mechanisms for retail products. To Eastern Province, which is 20 minutes drive, we don't have. If I'm in Paris and I want something from London, I get it. Even if it's a food product, it gets delivered to me. If it's a cake, or if it's cupcake, or if it's chocolate, why can't we do that locally here? DHL does it in Europe. They have the system, they have the policies, they have the insurance. Why can't we do it here? Why do we only have to focus on wholesale shipping? If we open the door for the retail companies, if I get requests for a box of chocolate on a daily basis from Saudi, but it's too expensive to ship it. Box of chocolate costs 4.5 dinars, box of 8, costs me 16 dinars to ship it. And they don't have the fridge mechanism, so by the time the customer receives it, it's actually hot chocolate because it's totally melted.
Especially since it's a 6-hour drive almost to Riyadh.
Exactly. So why don't we have the system of delivering retail products? Because that's how you can open a bigger door for all the retail companies in F&B to test their products outside Bahrain before physically even going outside Bahrain, to see if the consumers have an appetite for their products. A lot of Saudi customers drive to Bahrain. I swear to God, we have a customer that drives to Bahrain from Riyadh to buy 20 babkas. Babkas is basically, you know what a babka is? 20 babkas. And he messages on WhatsApp my team, make it ready at this time. I'm going to be driving, coming, pick them up, go back to Riyadh. 20 babkas. Why can't I deliver that to him on a daily basis? And he comes every week. And if I had the delivery mechanism, I could deliver it to him every day.
I mean, how much does a van cost? 5,000 BD,
Exactly.
2,000 BD,
Yeah.
whatever. How much does a driver cost? 100, 150 BD a month?
Now, 300.
Oh, if you're hiring Bahraini, though.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. I'm not thinking that. You can hire an expat for about 150,
No,
something like that.
expats 300 for a driver today.
Really?
Things have changed ever since we've got companies like Talabat and the commissions that they're paying.
Okay.
This has increased expats' minimum wage.
Really? That blew me away.
You're lucky if you get a driver for 300 dinars now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, but on the contrary, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Why not let them enjoy? You know, they're at the end of the day, you're supporting families. That's what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, the counter argument to that is always, that money is being earned in Bahrain and taken outside,
That's
right?
the drawback. This is where you need regulations.
I think so.
You need to regulate the industry, and this is the problem that we're having today. That there are new industries coming up, but there is no regulations. So it's creating a sort of a monopoly situation where even others trying to enter the market are facing difficulties and are facing constraints, and that's not healthy. We are in a country that we're not supposed to monopolize sectors. We're supposed to be an open market. Anybody can come, anybody can start a business and compete, and should be fair. But to do that, you also have to regulate the market to stop, certain
Negative externalities.
especially companies that were the first in the industry to basically impose their structures.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, barriers of entry should always be as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Sadly, you find a lot of, I don't know what the right word is, you find a lot of companies who come and do monopolistic activities and then using externalities in order to enforce their barriers of entry. And then you have companies like Saudi or UAE who just come in and then they just decimate the market.
Exactly.
You know, and then those monopolies, sadly, because they haven't been competing for the last 5 to 10 years, suddenly wake up and they're in tears.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's all about regulation, and if the country puts in proper regulations and regulates the market, then you can ensure that you have fair competition and ethical competition. And you can't expect fair and ethical competition if you don't have the proper regulations in place.
Well, how big is your factory right now?
My factory can produce today, or is producing today, 30 tons of chocolate.
Wow.
We can go up to 300 tons of chocolate.
In the same facility?
The same facility. And it's not a big facility. It's 500 square meters facility. We have today a total of 15 employees, but you know, if we can increase the number of employees and increase the production very easily overnight.
So your only issue really a bottleneck is your supply side, right?
It's basically competition.
Competition, really?
Yes.
I never thought it would be that of all things.
It is competition.
So what the next task, I guess, is to substitute to a different brand and produce a different product, right?
This is where we want to go to bean to bar, where we can even reduce our cost and enhance our prices better so that we can capture a bigger market. Plus, when you go from bean to bar, you can use that raw chocolate to enter bigger markets and to sell. Today, the highest 2 countries in terms of chocolate consumption are India and Saudi Arabia. And Saudi is even into a lot of production. So they're next door. If we invest in creating that raw chocolate in bigger quantities with competitive prices, we can enter a bigger market and have a bigger share.
And what would be your USP then for the long term?
It's basically ensuring that people
brand
focus
consistency.
on not just focus on high quality chocolate production.
Sure.
Today, even the European chocolate that is brought, a lot of them have high concentration of butter and sugar. And for us, we want to basically ensure that we maintain that high quality. At the end of the day, you have human beings that are consuming this chocolate, and you have a very high level of diabetes in this part of the world, which today is affecting a lot of other organs in the body. We having, unfortunately, seeing youth losing their foot or their fingers or their arms because of diabetes. Blindness, exactly. You can't go and just sell things to people and not have a conscience of how it's going to affect them. A lot of the chocolate that we're consuming today has cocoa butter, which is fat.
Sure.
And this is where obesity comes into perspective, and high concentration of sugar. That enhances margins for the producers. And it tastes amazing when you eat it because it's sugar and butter. But it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. For us, our milk chocolate starts at 35. We would love to go even higher than 35, but unfortunately, this part of the world do not accept it because they think this is dark. It's not milk. But it's gradual. When we first started Maya in 2006, our dark chocolate sales was only 5%. Today, we are selling 50% dark chocolate.
And what do you think the change was? Do you think it's from advertisement, health awareness, campaigns?
No. What we did is from our customers, we started enrobing dark chocolate in milk and white.
Ah, okay.
So as a consumer, you would buy a milk chocolate,
of course,
or white chocolate.
Yeah.
But gradually, your palate is getting affected because inside, 80% of what you're eating is dark.
That is so interesting.
And your palate would reach a situation that you cannot tolerate something with high sugar.
Who came up with that idea?
We came as a team.
No, I don't believe that.
We did. I swear we did. We did, and that was the trick. We couldn't preach to people, and especially this part of the world. The moment you start telling them this is healthy, especially back in 2006, now people talk about healthy and, you know.
لا تدوخني.
Exactly. Yeah. We started gluten-free before people knew what gluten-free is. In 2006, our fondant was made gluten-free. Until today, it's completely gluten-free.
That's wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
at that time, nobody even understood what gluten-free was. And we basically wanted to create that healthy aspect of products.
But don't you feel like if you would create a campaign evolving around more healthy chocolate, informing customers, education?
Now, yes.
I think, yeah.
And I do have a lot of these talk sessions where I get invited to talk about our healthy products. This is one of them. And it does have... we could see the effect on people. We could see that they're understanding it better. We do see that attention now from that consumer sector that's health conscious.
Because how is your market campaign running at the moment? Do you do any online marketing,
We're
earned media?
focusing mainly today on social media.
Okay.
That's our marketing campaign, and direct messages to customers. Recently, I started doing some videos, and
How are you finding it?
very interesting, very interesting. People are liking it. People are understanding, appreciating it.
It's
And
difficult to grow on social media these days.
It is difficult to grow on social media, but we have seen an increase in the number of followers over the last 2-3 years on the style that we're doing. We basically talk to different age groups.
Okay.
We listen to the youth mainly and what they think we should do. Most of our advisors on social media are between the age of 18 to 30.
Okay. So I'm sure the daughter a lot of the
Yes,
times
yeah,
sends
we
you
do.
images and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
they do,
hey, look
they
at
do,
this
they
and
do.
that.
And even the younger generation, we let them do some projects in school, and I go to some of their schools and I talk to them about it, and we use whatever they do. See, this chocolate fondant was done by an 8-year-old, this image.
Open it down if you don't mind.
For a school project.
Wonderful.
He's 8 years old.
And how did he get? Did he just reach out to you and be like, yo?
And we basically gave him the products, and we showed him how to do it, and he took the pictures. He actually himself took the pictures.
That's actually very well. That 8-year-old's definitely got skills. Mashallah, alayh.
And he did this project, and we use their images and we post them. So we give them that incentive, and then I go to their schools and I thank them, and I give a talk and I take chocolate for everybody.
Hey.
And you're building the future generation of your consumers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
I mean, why do you think Apple gave so much student discounts, right?
Exactly.
So for all those uni students, do you work with any influencers?
We do work with influencers, and the nicest thing about the influencers we work with is many of them do it free of charge for us, because
They get free chocolate.
they don't even want the free chocolate. They love it because it's a Bahraini brand, and they
I
they
won't
appreciate
believe
it.
that.
I swear to God.
They're not that altruistic.
They are. I swear they are. We had the other day this Bahraini famous actor who has over 100,000 followers. She went there and she did a video and she posted it, and our followers shot up immediately.
Does that generate any sales, by the way, for you?
It does.
So there is a connection.
We see a hike in followers. We see a hike in sales. We have Bahrain Life supporting us. Ali Sabkar, he's doing a great job. And many influencers, a lot of them, we just send them invitations and they immediately come over and do a video and post it. They're very nicely supportive. I have to admit that, especially the Bahrain influencers. You feel their passion, and they want to see a Bahrain business succeed. They want to see, it reach somewhere. You see that passion in the way they handle things.
That sounds beautiful. I'm skeptical, but that sounds beautiful.
I've tested it. I've tried it. Honestly, I've tried it.
Okay, fantastic. And then after the chocolate, now you're with SJ
Investments is the holding company.
Is a holding company.
Basically, where Maya comes. We've got two concepts of Maya. We've got Maya Chocolaterie, which is the chocolate bar, and we've got Maya Delis, which is the chocolate factory and the retail. And SJ Investment is the holding company that basically manages the HR, the accounts, the administrative parts, the training and development of these two concepts.
And with Maya, with your shareholders, do you give any dividends or not at all?
We did give dividends, but we've stopped giving dividends since we lost the franchisees because we were basically into more maintaining the brand and stabilizing the brand, because losing 80% of your cash flow.
Of course.
But when things were looking good, yes, our dividends were big numbers.
Fantastic.
That the shareholder, we were actually two partners, to be quite honest. That's how the venture started, but now one of the partners exited, so now it's 100% myself. But we do have share options with the buyout. We have 100, I own 100% of the company, and we also have share options for our team because we consider them partners, not employees.
Fantastic. And how big is the team? You said 15%.
Today we have 15,
factory.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not including the factory workers, though?
And including everyone.
Everyone, okay. Yeah. And you offer potential dividends or buy-ins for everyone working?
We basically have allocated a percentage of the shares to the employees.
Because I've always been a kind of person who doesn't believe in dividends. I think it's poison. I think the moment, investors start tasting it, you're done.
Yeah. And this is what happened. The moment it stopped, the investor
exactly
out. Now I've taken over 100%, but we have a track record. We've done well. We've managed to have big dividends when the company had all its franchisees, and today it has potential to go to the next level, and that's where we need investors to inject money. So we actually open locations outside Bahrain and then encourage more franchisees to
How much are you hoping
board.
to bid for? What kind of numbers are you looking for?
We are now finalizing the valuation of the company. We've appointed an investment company that is doing the valuation, an independent company that's doing the valuation. Hopefully within the next few weeks it will be ready and we would have price tag on Maya.
Okay, but do you have an idea of how much you'd like financial buy-in, as an idea? If
we're open to selling up to 80% of the company.
Okay, up to 80%. Okay, and because my head, I'm just thinking, right? You have two options, right? You can either go directly to investors or you can put it on the stock market.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming you're not too interested in putting on the stock market.
That's the exit for the investors coming in.
Okay. So you already have that all strategized in.
Yes, because the idea was always to take Maya to IPO.
Okay.
For the existing shareholders and for the future shareholders, but we want the IPO to be at a proper valuation that we had back in 2008, which got dropped because we lost
the franchisees
and then basically the crash of the market and everything. To do that, you need to have outlets open in different countries to run and to bring that valuation, because we know it will sell. We know it will do good. We have a proven track record that the brand was doing impressively well in different countries. In Qatar, it broke even in 8 months. In UAE,
that's very impressive.
Broke even in 18 months.
So impressive.
In Saudi, it broke even in 18 months. And that tells you that the brand has the capability. Today, market has changed. I'm not going to tell you it's going to break even in the same time frame.
Sure.
But if you have an F&B concept that breaks even in 3 years, that's a viable business model. And this is where we're leading. We're looking at a viable business model of 3 years break even.
Most businesses don't even manage 3 years to break even.
We're not saying 8 months and 18 months, we're saying 3 years. And we want to be realistic. Things have changed. Today we're not 2008 or 2010. Things have changed. You are in recession, you're in inflation, but still we're working on the basics of reducing the raw product to ensure that whoever comes on board can enjoy better margins without affecting the sales to the consumer, and the consumer can still enjoy that high quality product. Open a new line, a new brand, as you rightly said, which focuses on retail and mass market distribution through supermarkets. That's definitely going that way. And open, what we've learned today is that Maya can be 6 types of outlets. That's what we have reached. And we have 6 models. A model that will cost you 50,000 and a model that will cost you 500,000 dinars, all the way from a basic concept to all the way a high-end Dior style of a Maya. And we've tested and tried and managed to crunch the numbers and know what it takes to do it and what it takes to have it.
I think because this is the kind of questions I keep coming back to, is that given a quick cash injection, giving a large cash injection, where would you take that cash to? Yes, you mentioned you wanted to go upstream. Yes, you mentioned you'd like to either own the farms or own the manufacturing process. You do already do some manufacturing in Bahrain, but you don't do the physical turning the beans into cacao, right?
Yes.
And so you do have some plans of potentially separating the brand into sister companies of saying, hey, you know what, we do bar chocolate. Hey, you know what, we might work with supermarkets, restaurants, blah, blah, blah. I mean, with your influencers and with your potential staff, you could be knocking on every high, middle-end restaurant and saying, hey, you know what?
Even 5-star hotels, which we do today, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
We are supplying many 5-star hotels in Bahrain with their amenities. Some of them are branded Maya, some of them are branded under their name, so we do white labeling. We do even work with a lot of flower chocolate shops.
Oh, really?
Where we basically produce white label products for them line, which is exclusive for them. Maya's name is not there. And we're doing it at very competitive prices, and we basically tell them, you don't have to go bring a container from Lebanon that basically, 30,000 dinars and half of it you have to throw out because you don't have the proper chocolate storage facility. We produce for them monthly, weekly, daily, based on the quantity that they want.
That's so smart.
And we deliver to them even in boxes that doesn't have Maya's name and cards that doesn't have Maya's name, and it's branded their product. But if you notice, we're still giving that good quality chocolate distribution to consumers through other outlets and giving them an opportunity to sustain their business model without having to import big quantities from outside, low quality chocolate with high cocoa butter and sugar. Storage, they don't have to invest in having storage facilities. We store it for them in our facilities and we deliver it to them when they want.
You see, because Scott Galloway, I think one of maybe the best professors currently at NYU, his laddering strategy, he talks about differentiation, relevancy, and environmental, meaning that in any time you wanted to invest in any company, I think I'm so attracted to him because I look so much like him.
You do.
Yeah, being bald and having glasses.
Younger version.
I think that's why I quote from him so much. Yeah. But he makes an excellent point, and he says that when you're looking at a product in a competing industry, how differentiated is it to its competitors? How relevant is it to the customer base? And then how easy is it duplicatable as in the environmental aspect, right? And from what I see from Maya and hear from you from Maya, I personally have never tasted it. Sorry. But I'll definitely go out today and I'll definitely try your chocolate. And it comes back to gnawing on my head because I'm so worried that a more richer or potentially more experienced company or larger company could come in and just look at Maya and then be like, hey, you know what, we can duplicate these processes.
Oh yes, they can. If there's a chance that I can put a message across for people to learn from,
sure,
or to use, why not?
Sure.
Nothing is a secret anymore. Everybody knows almost everything, but if there's certain things, experiences that would help somebody, will be an incentive, will inspire, will support somebody not to do my mistakes, why not?
That's beautiful.
If I had somebody to do this for me when I started, I might have been in a better place. I might have been more successful in a shorter time. I might have avoided a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the losses. I lost a lot of money.
But then you wouldn't be who you are today, though.
True, very true, but also my success rate would have been bigger. I could have been more of a global brand
leader
name today, more, than where I am today. Losing all these franchisees is not a joke.
Sure.
If somebody had advised, don't franchise to one company, 5 countries, and we took it from the perspective that, it's relaxing, they're passionate about the brand, let's go with the flow.
Let me be.
Exactly,
if they want somebody else wants to handle it.
But sometimes you need to stop and think, okay, it's maybe more beneficial to work with somebody else so that you don't risk everything.
But don't you see it's a blessing in disguise? At least it was 5 countries and not 10.
Yeah, true.
Right?
But it was a lot of stores.
Sure, okay. I mean, it sucks it sucks at the moment, but...
Many stores.
Okay. What is it now? 14 years ago?
Yeah.
So, who cares? Write it off. Rather something like this than something major.
But see, the problem is the consumers still did not forget we lost all these tours. It's
Do you really
still
think they
there.
stay remember?
No, it's still there. There is still that crack.
Sure.
I
I mean, what's the total population if you consider all those countries, those 5 countries?
don't know, it's a big
100 million, maybe? There's 8 billion people on the
And
planet.
this is why we want to target opening in different countries other than Saudi, where we still have loyal customers. You know, Saudis, even though we shut down, we still have customers that come to us. We still have customers that call us. We still have customers that arrange a driver to come and pick up stuff and take it.
That's
for
brilliant.
them.
That shows you the brand
So
power.
it has potential, and us being there, you know, will have potential of profitable.
Couldn't you just get a van, put a fridge in it,
Yeah.
store the chocolate?
Not that easy with on the causeway when it comes to taking products into
Really?
Saudi. You have the logistics, the customs issue is quite a hassle.
Still till now?
It is quite a hassle.
And what about if you put a plant in near Saudi, a small kitchen?
That would make life very easy, yes.
So there would be a potential
Yes.
of doing something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And then just send 2 people across the causeway.
Definitely. Eventually, you can't produce everything from Bahrain. Eventually, once you grow, this is the dynamics of the project, that if you have enough locations, you would need to set up a mini plant that would support and supply to all these locations in the country itself, especially when you're looking at a country like Saudi Arabia. Or if you're in Europe, then you would need an operation somewhere in Europe, because logistics would be much easier and more efficient.
I mean, that sounds like a good plan to slowly head that way. And then, so the only hang up right now is to get that evaluation, that cash injection, and then go
fly
at it.
and fly.
Absolutely. And do you see yourself being of running the day to day, or do you think
No,
you want to?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
The team is there. They can manage. We need new people to come on the boards to add better value. Sometimes you need to have other people with you, because when you're doing the same thing for a long time, then you get a bit blocked.
Sure.
So you need other people with you to work with you, to support you, to guide you, to give you new advice, fresh advice.
You need new
that.
blood.
You need new blood, definitely.
And have you
Definitely.
considered getting involved with one of the 4 big, either Goldman Sachs or Deutsche Bank or any of them, from a consultancy basis, just because they can help you with your supply chain, finding customers?
At this stage, it's too expensive for us. I would put it that way. But that would be a dream.
But I
involved with
don't
them.
think. I mean, it depends on how good your brand is. You can do defer payments to the big 4,
You can.
which then becomes a question. Hey, you know what? Is it worth it?
Or you use that money to actually expand.
Exactly.
I would say let us expand. Let us bring in the initial placement, do the initial expansion, and then you bring in the big guns to do for the IPO, so that you can then ensure that for the IPO you expand that valuation properly.
It's one of the difficulties, right? Because I think if you had this brand and you had it at this stage in the US, or even I think especially in the US,
Yes.
you'd be 10 times
100%.
minimum bigger.
100%.
Just because of the allocations of resources and the push from the industry.
Definitely.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And if we had done the franchise agreement, joint venture franchise, maybe we would have been in a better perspective, because we would always have control on the shops. You know, one of the problems was that a lot of the audited reports that were being sent to us were
Double invoiced.
because they want to basically reduce the royalties.
I've had that problem too.
But when you are a partner and a franchisor, then you would have that control.
But that's so stupid though, isn't it? Because you're still supplying them.
I know.
So you immediately know and be like, wait, why are we supplying this much if your sales are only this much?
But again, when you're supplying chocolate, it's different than the sales of the retail shop, because a lot of the products are being made locally there.
Okay, so they're substituting with else. So you had to actually send somebody to go and check it out then. Ugh. Well,
But
lessons
also,
learned.
when we started at that time, technology was not that advanced that you would have a point of sale that you can watch while you're in Bahrain. Today, you have that efficiency. that you can have a point of sale where I would have on my mobile access to it and see the sales transaction happening in Saudi or happening in London or happening anywhere else. That technology was not there back in 2006.
And have you never considered maybe finding local talent in one of the other 5 countries and then being like, you know what, we'll put forward the cost, whatever the shop cost is, 50,000 or whatever else. We'll give it to you on a low interest.
That's exactly how we want to do now when we're talking about expansion.
Okay.
That we have a local partner that would manage it, but we would actually put in the investment and everything, and they would run the show, but they would have shares in the company. They would be owners, not just employees.
Which I love, by the way, that concept, because you can sell that debt. Right, and so you're not even carrying that debt on your balance sheet.
Exactly.
Right, so you can give out that money, you sell that debt, you're out of it.
And I've already put in place in Saudi people who are standby ready. The same thing in UAE who are standby ready. The same thing in India who are standby ready. So this is how it's going to be. That we will basically have them. They would have X percentage, and they would be running the day-to-day and everything. And we would have the operations perfectly done instead of us having to, and we'd have somebody who would just be monitored and, once every quarter just go from one place to the other to review everything and double check.
That sounds like a brilliant idea. I know a guy, I'll try to put you in contact with him. He works now for, I don't know who. Do you remember the restaurant Chico?
Yeah.
Do you remember that chef who was there for a little while? He was
Italian chef?
That Italian chef. He's working for a firm now, I think, with Oman, and they own they worked with him, and he's getting I think 10% or 15% of total revenue or total profit. And he's managing now 5 or 6 restaurants, Italian restaurants in malls and stuff like that. So he knows, I think, very much that business aspect more than probably us 4 in that room here. So I'll definitely try to put you in contact with him, because he can definitely.
Oh, I love Chico's, by the way.
Yeah, it's a shame that he left though.
Yeah. So he has nothing to do with Chico's anymore?
Gone completely. He's been gone now for almost 6 months.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad, because he was doing a great job, but good for him.
Absolutely.
Good for him.
I mean, he's now managing a company that has 5 or 6 Italian restaurants.
Good for him.
And they're using his name.
Good for him.
Yeah, and so he's
brilliant. He's brilliant.
He's laughing it up now.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good for him.
I love the idea of and what kind of interest rates are you thinking of charging to your potential franchisees? 6%?
Royalty, we call it royalties. We don't call it interest rate. Royalties start from 4% to max of 6%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, if you were putting it that way, you'd be below the interest rate. Okay.
But it also, what we do is we start at the bottom low 4, so that we give them time to break even, and then once the break even happens, we basically increase the royalty to 6, but we don't go beyond 6%.
Okay.
We need to make it a win-win situation for both, and at 5 and 6%, it's been good, and plus there's also the chocolate sales that we sell. There's the furniture. There's the
refrigerators, the machines. I imagine
no
everything.
Machines. Actually, we give them the green light to buy.
What?
But it has to be specific brands.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't interfere in the machine as long as it's specific brands. Unless it's a new brand, then we basically do our investigation. We charge a fee to do the investigation on the brand. And of course we sell them the dry products for the desserts that they make. Of course. We're already making margins on that. So
what about the packaging and stuff like that?
Packaging, we basically give them the option, either because as part of the royalties, we give them the designs if they want to make it locally, or if they want to buy it through us, then we basically create it for them.
Because that's how McDonald's makes its most of its money, is through the packaging.
Yes. But we try to be flexible on packaging. Okay. Yeah. Especially now with China being so expensive, because what we used to do before is we used to go and make it in China, and we used to make bulk. We used to bring 2 containers worth of packaging every 6 months, and then distribute it. So the price of the packaging was efficient enough for them that they would never get it locally. But now with the hike in logistics, it's too expensive. So we need to be a bit flexible until things settle down.
And you don't have the spare capacity to send somebody to all these countries and work out all that trade agreements either.
Yes.
Sucks.
But we're now investigating Jabal Ali because Jabal Ali has opened a replica of China in Jabal Ali, and one of my team is actually going there after Eid to test and see the companies that are under that structure and to see if we can start the ball rolling in terms of all our packaging and products that we need. And if it works, we might start again. So, but it has to be a win-win situation for us and the franchisees. Normally, we used to give them our price and they used to come and say, no, you know what, you make it. Locally, it's more expensive. But they need to feel comfortable that we're not taking them for a ride and it comes to the prices, because we are a Bahraini brand.
Sure.
That started from Bahrain.
Sure.
We're not a McDonald's that's been here forever, or a La Durée that's been for 100 years in France, in Paris. You need to build that confidence, but we are transparent enough to tell them, okay, if you buy the packaging from us, it's this price. You can go check if you can get something cheaper, lower, as long as it's the standard, and you need to send us the sample to approve it before you go full production. You can do it.
Imagine the color coming off on that cake.
Exactly. So 99% they bought it from us.
Dan, can you look up the $300 chocolate bar? Because I really do believe there is definitely a market for high-end chocolate bars.
It's edible gold on it. I think the $300.
How much is edible gold? Like $2?
No, it is. No, it's 24 karat.
Yeah, the sheet though, that's cheap.
24 karat.
Yeah, but the sheet is cheap though.
Each booklet has 10 sheets is 35 BD.
35 BD. Okay, that's about 770. Oh, that's about
10 sheets of
$80.
About 6 by 6 centimeters.
Yeah, but that's also B2C.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll be a lot cheaper if you do B2B.
If you get B2B, it would be cheaper. Yeah.
Here, look, that's you can duplicate a process like that. Look.
But you don't have the client base in Bahrain for this.
Yeah, you sell it internationally.
You have this in Dubai, not in Bahrain.
Yeah. How long?
Bahraini people cannot afford. We sell our bars. The most expensive bar is 1 dinar 900, and I get drama. And it has fillings in it, massive fillings of nuts and caramels and everything, and I get drama.
Yeah, I mean, you get drama because you're targeting the wrong market, I think. Right? I mean,
And in Qatar, I told you, my chocolate, I sell here 1 kg 30 to 35 BD, in Qatar 90 BD, and they were selling 100 kgs in 2 days.
But don't you think that your problem is maybe location in Bahrain?
Yeah.
Do you think that, what's
and
that?
This is why I'm not investing in opening more stores in Bahrain.
I understand that, but why don't you go to Moda Mall, for example?
It's the purchasing power of the people of Bahrain. Moda Mall people are still facing a problem.
Sure. I mean, whenever I go through that mall, it's almost destitute, right?
Exactly.
So then your other option is going to Dubai, to the city mall.
And going to
Riyadh,
even Eastern Province. Having a location in Eastern Province.
I mean, how much is it to open up just a...
Quite expensive. The rent there is quite expensive.
Even for a pop-up?
Even for a pop-up. We basically were checking for a pop-up in the middle of the mall.
Sure.
You're talking about 600 BD per square meter.
Can you go back to the Google image with the $300 one? Sorry to bring this back up, because the thing I love about this is that if you create a fake product around that, and then just give it to high VPs.
They can, yeah.
That is such a genius idea, right? I mean, if you just create that as a fake product, a duplicate, and then go to all the to all the business owners or VPs that you want to get into contact with, and give those as gifts, and they just have to see that on their website or whatever else.
Not Bahrain VPs, by the way.
No. Dubai, UAE, Saudi Arabia.
And this is the beauty that we can do this. But you know what is the other problem? People go to companies outside Bahrain when they have events because they want to show off, I brought this product from X country.
Sure.
And they've paid an arm and a leg, not $300, maybe even $1,000 per product. It's more to them poshy than buying a brand that's locally made by Bahrainis. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, I'm a professional chocolatier. I studied the art of making chocolate, and I am
That's
now
not a real thing.
training. I'm training all the team. So anybody new that comes works with me for 1 month.
Who gives you that plaque?
I went to École Chocolat and I did the training online, and then I did one of the training programs in Belgium as well. And
wow.
I have a certification, and I learned how to perfect the art of making chocolate. So how to control humidity, how to control temperature. And imagine the two worst enemies of chocolate is humidity and temperature. And what is the humidity in Bahrain? And
40% almost,
exactly.
yeah.
And we don't add additives and preservatives. So how do we maintain 8 months shelf life? That was a nightmare for me, working on and losing hundreds and hundreds of kgs of chocolate until I perfected it.
Well, you just can't you just get one of those like cigar rooms?
It still won't work. It
Really?
still affects from the wall. It affects. We have a temperature humidity thermometer in the chocolate
Sure.
room. If it goes above 55, work has to stop. Staff have to leave.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds like a huge pain in the ass.
Otherwise, you will not get your shine.
And you're selling that bar for a BD.
1 dinar 900. Yes. Even my enrobed nuts. You know the enrobed nuts. A lot of the companies, the Harrods ones, for example, that you bring today, what they do is they roast the nut, they put it in this machine, which is like a cement mixer. They add the chocolate, and they add this material, which gives you the shine. And the whole process takes 1 hour.
Dan, can you go back on the Instagram? Then let me ask you this. I just heard your process.
Yeah.
It sounds beautiful.
I didn't explain my process.
No.
That was the general process.
I understand. That the reason I'm interrupting you is, why the hell are you not posting that?
We do post. If you go on Maya Delis, there's 2 companies. Maya Delis has all the nuts and everything.
Because that to me is such more an interesting post.
We do.
And then summer drinks.
We do. These are because of the menu, but our process takes 9 to 15 hours.
And how many units are we getting out of that?
You're getting 15 kgs.
15 kgs.
Okay, but why does it take this much? Because I don't use the last third part where they add a material to give you the shine. I get the shine naturally from the chocolate. So I have to heat and freeze the enrobed hazelnut or the pistachio or the almond or the strawberry until the chocolate cracks and naturally shines. And that gets affected sometimes if the humidity is high in the room or outside, or the temperature is not stable, and I have to redo the whole process all over again the next day. But it's natural. I'm getting the shine from the chocolate naturally without adding a third ingredient. And sometimes that third ingredient might not be an Arabic gum, might be an artificial ingredient, which is not healthy, but it gives you a beautiful buttery shine. For us, it's not a beautiful buttery shine, it's a natural shine that you get.
Again, it seems like it seems like a travesty to not educate your consumers.
We do. I swear, I do these sessions myself. I talk about them. I explain it to them. But
how is it not that every post and every story and every marketing material, I don't see that?
I swear I do.
We're 9 posts deep now, or how many posts deep now? More, 12. Because I think that's the
even our
key
cakes,
part.
by the way, we never have ready cakes. Because I'm not going to sell you a cake that is 1 day old or 3 days old. We make your cakes fresh on the day of your delivery. Everything is made fresh.
You need to educate your customers. You need to educate
There's a post of me saying that about the cookies. This is, that was on the other one, that you're never going to get these products to come in. And a lot of our consumers are lazy. They want to come and buy. Okay, might be selling a product that's 5 days old.
But customers don't know what they want. Steve Jobs famously said it. You have to tell them what they want.
I swear I do. Even my team, we've got the WhatsApp account. My team explained to them, I'm sorry, we don't have these cakes ready because we make them fresh for you. I don't care. She goes, I don't care. I want the product now. It says, but it's made fresh. You need to, at least even if you order in the morning, by afternoon it's ready.
Then why instead of saying it's not available because of stock issue, just give an exuberant price, right? Because at least then the mind.
But Maya is not a French brand for them to pay that price.
That's true, but nobody says you can't be a French brand, right? I mean, all you have to do.
You know what? We were doing much better when we launched the brand. One of the strategies we had was that, and I worked with Wahid Mehran, and I love this guy because he's a guru in branding. And I told him, Wahid, look, I want you to position the brand in a way that anybody looking at it would say, okay, this brand has been here forever.
Haute couture.
It's a brand that's been brought from out of Bahrain, and it's been here for 100 years. And for many years, people thought that. We didn't publicly tell people we're a Bahraini brand.
That's the only way to succeed in Bahrain.
And we succeeded. But the moment we started being very proud, of our brand, that we are Bahrainis, exactly. It backfired on us, and I
learned that lesson as well, by the way.
We thought, now we've got our customer base, we have our franchisees, now we're going to proudly admit we are a Bahraini, so that we're a precedent for others to follow. We fell so flat on our face that it's crippling us, and that's sad.
I think a very easy solution to fix that issue is you can start a shell company in France with very little money, right? We're talking about a few hundred BD.
Yeah.
And then put that name of the Maya under that shell company.
We've stopped from now any new packaging we're doing, and it breaks my heart that before we always used to say proudly made in Bahrain. Now we don't add that.
Why do you think I don't put anything about Bahrain in the podcast, by the way?
But that breaks my heart.
But that's what customers
are we giving to the next generation?
But the problem is the customer base and the education on the customer level, because they assume anything made Bahrain must be cheap quality, must be bad, must be whatever. I will not believe if you claim that your brand was French that people would complain that a bar of chocolate would be 1 BD or 1 dinar. Yeah. I do not believe that.
I agree 100% with you. 100%.
So I think there's your quick solution.
100%. And even when we tried to promote our raw chocolate, which we were testing, and they were asking, is it made in Bahrain or is it European? And we would say it is European. Okay, we'll buy it.
Exactly. Especially if why don't you just, next time when somebody calls saying they want a cake, immediately say, it's not been delivered from France yet.
Oh my God. But it saddens me that Bahraini people are so educated and to culture, and then they would act like this. This is
but that's the problem, isn't so much that they're actively thinking that way. It's that subconsciously their association with Bahrain and products is low quality and cheap.
But what message are we giving to the next generation of entrepreneurs?
But right now you're like Toyota, who wants to now be Mercedes. What did Toyota do? They made Lexus. Right?
Correct.
So, I mean, you just look at history and you can see what the right path is. It's not that Lexus is like infinitely better than Toyota.
No, I agree with you.
The same thing with Maybach. It's owned by Mercedes, and Maybach didn't function very well, which was the opposite case because nobody remembered the name.
Yes.
And so now they called it Maybach Edition under Mercedes.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So, any plans now to switch it over to a French brand?
We've been looking at this big time. To actually open a shell company in Belgium, to be the main holding company.
And why haven't you pulled the trigger yet?
We'll do that with the restructuring of the new shareholders.
I mean, I'm worried about those new shareholders because you're going to have to be sitting there and explaining
to them on how to do it.
Yeah, for like 2 hours. So you see, our idea is to put it under a shell company in Belgium. Huh? Right? That would be the first thing, right?
True.
And then they were like, the manufacturing is in Bahrain, though. Yeah.
But now we don't put made in Bahrain.
I think, that's a wise choice.
We don't. We stopped.
That's
if you look at our packaging, it just has Maya. There's no proudly made in Bahrain anymore. Even though I was a big ambassador for this and I was encouraging a lot of people.
You got slapped hard.
I got slapped hard.
But it's market perception and consumer perception, and I think the only way I could imagine it changing is if a Dior, Chanel, or a big brand like that would do manufacturing
affiliate with us.
in Bahrain. That's the only way.
The problem is we do have some big names that are working with us, but they don't want us to announce.
Exactly.
You know, they know our quality, they know our standards, and they know how our prices are efficient, but we can't put our brand name on the boxes, on the product, and for us, we have to. We're running a business, so at the end of the day, we can't argue.
Do you? So you told me, do you work with the Four Seasons or Ritz?
Four Seasons.
Four Seasons. Okay. And because Ritz has also cake collection, have you not tried to?
We have tried, but it's been a nightmare getting to Ritz.
Really?
Internally, they have too much politics. Yeah, we've been trying it since pre-COVID, and but Four Seasons, their internal system is so efficient, and they're so nice working with, and their chefs come and see our setup, and they were impressed with how efficient our standards of work are, and they were blown away with what they saw.
Ritz is really, really weird because I heard a story, well, I know it from fact actually, that they use a third party to buy their uniforms for their clothing to then use that third party to sell to them.
Most probably this is the same situation which nobody's telling me. And
Exactly.
every time I ask them, where is our issue? They say it's with purchasing. They have to open a file for you. And it's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
Literally 3 years. And we have this amazing bankruptcy law, which is so beautiful when you read it. But when you
Impose it
and apply it, a mess. It's a big mess. And I applied for one of my companies for bankruptcy. They're even refusing to give me the trustees document for us to review why he's refusing this company to go for bankruptcy, because we know there are some issues that people are expecting money out of this company, and they played it with the trustee. And even though we ticked all the boxes of the bankruptcy, we literally ticked, and they wanted to put the issue on hold to come after the shareholder personally. So they basically ensured that this bankruptcy doesn't go through because of their personal agendas. How can you function like that?
Again, sooner or later, I think as Saudi cleans up, it's going to spread to the rest of the Middle East. UAE has already cleaned up as well, yes. And it's just a matter of time before Bahrain...
Yeah, UAE has been cleaning up for a while now. In 2003, I was working with a group officials, government officials, on the resort project that was stopped here, the Salam project they call it, which is close to Bilad Jazair. And suddenly overnight the official disappeared. Literally, I swear to God, he's not answering me. He flew to Bahrain, and I did a full presentation to him, and suddenly not him, not his team. And then I go and ask around, where is this guy? He goes, yeah, he bought one of the apartments in one of the buildings that was under his project for his wife. He bought it. He didn't take it for free. He bought it. He paid money. He's in prison now. And he was a local Emirati. Imagine, because he says it's very clear you're not allowed to do that. Mix personal things with the
government.
Absolutely. I'm like, what? He bought it for his wife and he paid. No, you can't. Because al-awlawiyya is for the public, not for you to choose which one you want and for your wife.
Like I said, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, and it's just like a wave,
I hope.
And
you see, one of the what I'm hoping Bahrain would do is to do that. You need something. You need a minister that handles strategic issues, which UAE started, which Saudi started, which Egypt has. Today, with all the amazing changes in the ministerial factors, they've put a minister who's in charge of SDGs, but they haven't put a minister who's in charge of strategic planning. I know they have a Lajna Tansiqiyya headed by the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, but the Lajna Tansiqiyya has limitations also. It's not a day-to-day job. When you have a minister that handles the strategic planning of the entire country and brings together all these ministries to talk together and not work independently, then you can see that change.
Absolutely.
That you're talking about. Then you can see that erosion of corruption. This I was hoping to happen with this change of ministerial, but unfortunately it's still not there.
It's going to take time.
Which I'm hoping would happen, because once you have that in place, then you're connecting all the dots. Today we still have that problem of every ministry working independently, and that's wrong. There has to be link between all of them, and to emphasize the vision and emphasize the strategy, you need to have that individual there.
Which the real shame of all this is that Bahrain could very easily be like 1970s Singapore. It could be very easily. With the system it currently is, it could be exactly that. But for that to happen, you need FDI.
Exactly.
Right? And
exactly.
you can have the system running exactly like it is now.
But to have the FDI, you need to have efficient legal system. Every FDI assigns a consultant to check a country's legal system, financing system, corruption. These are the three main things they look at.
Do you know what BlackRock designates Bahrain as?
What?
To its investors? Friendly investment.
Yeah.
That's one page. It's literally just a one sentence, and that's all it says.
Friendly my أكل.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have that, then use it, market it.
Use it efficiently, exactly. Use it efficiently. I'm surprised there's EDB. EDB should be running the show and banging on the table and saying legal system needs to be fixed for us to do something.
I mean, right now you have a perfect opportunity. Right now you have Russia right now just bleeding, and it's just looking.
UAE jumped on the situation.
Absolutely. The US was pissed off, but nobody cares. You saw with MBS when Biden called them, MBS didn't pick up the call. Yeah. This is the first time since 1970s when we had Malik Faisal. The first time.
Yeah, this happens.
Yeah.
But you need to act fast. You need to act quickly. You can't just sit there and
let them come to you and hope.
It doesn't happen. MBS went to Turkey. What does that tell you?
Exactly.
What does that tell you? What's the message that's telling you?
Absolutely.
And as you rightly said, when I was doing the restructuring of the committees في الغرفة before we joined the chamber, they had 28 committees. You go to the chamber, you have a problem, they create a committee, and the people just sit there absolutely doing nothing. So I started researching, and the main country I looked at is the Chamber of Commerce of Singapore. They have 5 committees, literally 5 committees.
They're very efficient.
Exactly. So I went to the board and I recommended changing from 28 committees to 10 committees.
They did not like that.
They didn't like it, but they bought it.
Okay.
And we did change. And my strategy was that you have 5 core committees, which is basically technology, education, finance and insurance, logistics, and tourism. These are 5 main. And then you have the other sectors, which is real estate, which is industry, which is health, which is commercial markets, which is every retail goes under it. And all these 5 need these 5. You can do, today even industry can be tourism. You still need education for industry. You still need logistics for industry. You still need funding for industry. So all of these 5 should work with these 5. And this is how you bring the sectors together. So we created what is called the steering committee, where we bring all these 10 leaders, and we basically made a rule that no board member heads a committee because we want the experts to head these committees. Unless there's a board member which is way advanced than anybody external, then it's an exception. So we brought them on board on this steering committee, and it was a nightmare getting them to talk together. كل واحد يبي يطلع عضلاته بروحه.
إيه بالضبط.
كل واحد يبي يبين what
office politics
he or she can do individually.
إيه, office politics. Everyone wants to show, know.
Exactly. So what we did now is we've created a think tank group, which I left the steering and the committees. I gave it to Walid Kano. And I've gone into the think tank, and what we've done is we've started with the strategy of the board, and we're filtering it down to them and teaching them to work together. ليش؟ مو بس حق الكوميتيز. We want them to work together outside. إحنا مشكلتنا في البحرين, we work in boxes, not outside the boxes. We don't work together as Bahrainis.
عندك حق.
We don't. That's the sad part. لو احنا نحط يدنا في بعض مثل السعوديز ومثل الاماراتيين ومثل القطريز, we would be in a different ball game.
Absolutely. Well, you have a silo culture, the same as Sony had in the 1990s.
Exactly, but today it's different. تشوف الكويت, شوف الكويتيين شلون طلعوا المنتج الكويتي. Where Kuwaitis have reached, Kuwaitis started franchising way after us. But look at the progress that they've done. It's because, number one, the government created the fund, the SME fund, that invests in SMEs. So imagine you have an SME in Kuwait. Who's your partner? A government fund. What confidence that does give anybody franchising your product? They didn't succeed in maybe 80% of their investment, but they succeeded in 20%, and that 20% compensated them for all the 80% losses.
Jeff Bezos, by the way, said the same thing. He said, if you have a 10% chance to make 100 times the return, you always take the 10% chance.
يعني Temkeen today is still in the process of giving grants. Why? If Temkeen would invest in businesses and take strategic position to give confidence to anybody outside to joint venture or to franchise or partner with, you will accelerate globalization of local companies much faster than the rate that you're doing today.
Absolutely, but I think from a geopolitical standpoint, you also have an issue where you have the huge Western powers putting a lot of pressures to make sure that Western brands come in and foreign brands are almost held as a gutter. You know, there's a reason why there's no UK brands that are doing very well in America, and
but they're doing good here.
But they're doing good here, right? Yeah. There's no British McDonald's.
Exactly.
Right, and I think that there's that to highlight. Trump did some great work in trying to do unilateral deals. You know, Biden has returned a lot of those policies, and I think Bahrain, in all its potential, even with Kanu, by the way, Jamil, the new CEO that just recently joined, who's in charge of cybersecurity, he was telling me just because of how the law base right now is with privacy protection, because that's cybersecurity in their own business, saying because it's so underdeveloped and at the moment, and it's not been passed or enacted on, their main business focus is Saudi Arabia. You know, and exactly, right? So they can't even use Bahrain as a testing ground because the client's base is like, well, why do I need it? You know, if customers' information is being leaked or being stolen or being ransomed or being whatever, but there's no financial incentive to produce protection, then I don't need you as an enterprise, right? I don't need you on my balance sheet. You're just a cost. And so they started this business, and now they're looking in Saudi Arabia.
Well, all of them, even the Zayanis and everybody, they're looking into setting up in Saudi Arabia because it's a bigger market.
Well, bigger market,
bigger potential.
Absolutely. I mean, that is its own animal. But the reason why he couldn't set up the franchise here is because of the legal basis, right? He said he would love to start small.
This is the issue.
And
our regulators need to perfect things. The legal system needs perfection. Regulation needs to be more efficient. Otherwise, EDB's been doing what all these years? Okay, they've been successful in a few concepts, but also what have they given them to come? They've given them, these companies are not adding value to Bahrain, not in labor, job opportunities. Even the money does not stay in Bahrain. Everything goes
externally out. Right.
So what value are they adding? They're milking, but they're not adding value. When in fact, any FDI that comes should be investing in Bahrain properly, efficiently, but you can't expect them to do that if your legal system is this mess.
Do you think there is another issue in the sense of, I have a lot of people who sit here in your chair, by the way, who are entrepreneurs, who run businesses just as much as yourself. And one of the key things I hear from them, which is different than what I've ever heard. I worked as a consultant in the US, I've worked as a consultant in the UK. Biggest difference I hear is that instead of profit maximization, which I hear in the West, here in the Middle East, I hear community. And they say they want to build a community, they want to, be part of a community.
You have to balance between both. You can't do one without the other.
I totally agree with you. But what I find interesting, and I think this is the reason for it, originally I thought, from a very humanitarian response, I thought, oh, that's great, we really care about, our fellow man, blah, blah, blah. And then it dawned on me that when I dig deeper, they said, well, it's because I don't have a friend circle. It's because I don't have, a larger family. And then I realized they just use that business as a means of creating a social network.
A social network or a family.
Yeah.
The other option would be that you do that to sustain. That's the only factor that what we did in our model is to sustain the brand name, the brand identity. If we had focused on maximizing profit with positioning that we have in Bahrain, it
wouldn't work.
It won't work.
Well, you'd have to be a French brand, first of all, or Belgium, right? That's its own animal again. Yeah. By the way, why don't you sell to coffee shops?
We do some, but again, it's been, you know what has happened? We've been trying to do this since 2006, to sell to coffee shops, to sell to hotels, to sell to chocolate and flower shops. The moment we approach them, they look at us, competition is trying to take our business over.
Okay.
I don't know why they would think that way. Even when I tell them, like, some of them are my friends, they have chocolate and flower shops. Come to me, tell me what flavors you want, I will make them for you. Okay. When COVID started, they had a problem with logistics. They had Sonya and Maya because they were forced into doing it. But now I'm also facing a competition that some people have come up doing it from home, and they're buying it from home, and that brand is a home brand without even a virtual CR, without Ministry of Health restrictions on them, and big names are buying it today and posting it and promoting it. So it's this mentality that they have, that if I work with another company locally, I will be divulging too much information, and then that company will take my trade secret. Hello, what trade secrets? I'm making the chocolate for you. You're not making the chocolate for me. I'm making the chocolate for you. So you'll be getting my secrets, and I'm putting an open book for you. But it is that mentality that we have. Plus, the other problem that we have is they love copying and competing instead of partnering.
But, they're not going to be... this is from a businessman perspective now. I'm just thinking of business owner. It sounds almost idiotic to me. If I own a coffee shop, I don't want to be in the position of having to produce my own cakes and my own sweets. I don't want to...
outsource.
Yeah, outsource exactly. That nonsense. The same as with the coffee.
But they're outsourcing it to people who are doing it from home without even a CR. And how dangerous is that?
But do you think it's from a cost perspective?
It is they're priced the same as us. No, maskina fil bayt, we need to help her. By the way, she has a morning job.
But do you really think that's the case?
There is that case also. And it's more confidential. ما حد بيعرف إنه من مايا. لا.
Okay.
It's discreet, more discreet.
And so,
I don't know.
And so don't you think if you would get just some salesperson in, right, and let's just sell it as a white brand?
We do. We tell them, it's a white brand, but
without the connection.
They know my team.
If you go on Upwork or something like that, if you know what the website is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, to basically send somebody who's not affiliated with Maya and try to basically indirectly sell to them.
Exactly.
We could try, but again, it's a hassle. But this is the problem that we faced. We're competing with housewives when it comes to cafes and restaurants. They'd rather buy it from somebody who makes it at home in a kitchen that's not industrially equipped, where you don't know how they're making it, what machines they're using, what's the hygiene, food and safety protocols they're using, rather than work with a company that established because they think they're working with it. Even though competitive collaboration is the best solution for a country like Bahrain with the size that we are. I would love if I work with my I went to Mishal, for example. I knocked on his door. I said, Mishal, let me make your chocolate. I would love to make your chocolate instead of you opening a line to make chocolate. I think he looked at me and thought I'm a crazy woman, but I've been trying, not, and I've been going personally. The other issue is that how many, like Maya Delices that you saw, how many pastry shops have come up in the last 3 years? Ya Jama'a, okay, we have a tested, tried concept. Come partner with me and let's make this bigger and go even out of Bahrain instead of you copying me. حتى design, colors, theme, exactly cut and paste, exactly. We brought Antonio Bashur to do our training and هاي راحوا يابوا celebrity. Exact copy. Ya Jama'a, why spend those 100,000 dinars and start from zero when you have a tried and tested product. And by the way, I'm a firm believer, I don't mind even selling 90% of the company, because for me, getting 10% of a bigger company is much better for me.
It's better to own
100% of a company that will go nowhere.
Right? It's better to own 1% of something than 100% of nothing.
90%, okay? You win, I win, my team wins, we make a bigger operation. No, I'm going to make a new brand, new name, and I'm going to make sure I'm better than them. هذه الculture we have to change. هذه المindset sorry يعني
but
has to change.
There's another aspect of problems of business in Bahrain that I see, and that's the circling of the economy. You know, where yani my son will buy products from your daughter, and your daughter will make sure to buy things from my son, and so that all the kids can then be proud, you know, and that it's its own huge issue.
Big time.
Especially in jewelry and stuff like that. I see it everywhere.
Even in food. يعني I have friends who are close to me who can't buy from me because her sister-in-law owns. Okay. يعني when I send to you, you eat it, you like it.
It's
يعني sorry, we are educated people طالعين شايفين العالم يعني enough يعني we should come out of these cultures and these mindsets.
It's been 2 generations since we were Bedouins.
Enough. يعني I post things of competition on my own personal feed. I promote Lilou, I promote Café La Chocolat, I promote La Labella, I promote...
Lilo wants to sell though, right?
Lilo wants to buy, actually.
I thought that he wanted to sell the company.
No, they're actually expanding, they're buying.
Oh, I thought they were looking for an investor to get rid of the whole thing.
No.
Okay, sorry, you're saying?
Not Lilo. فيعني I put competition, I promote competition because I'm proud of them. If they do something better than me, why not? Why shouldn't I? يعني if you come to an event in my house, you will not see all Maya products. You will see other products of other people. I order from Lilo non-stop. I wouldn't say Lilo's competition. I'm not going to buy from Lilo. I love Lilo.
Or start competing against Lilo.
I love them. I honestly love their products. يعني why wouldn't I? And why wouldn't I proudly say that? But it's this culture that's needed, and just because you are related to that person doesn't mean you cannot promote somebody else's products or somebody else's success.
Well, we just had someone recently on. Again, we'll have to cut this part too, and we'll pick and choose, and we'll send to you, and you can approve it. Whatever.
These you can cut and.
No worries. I'll send it to you, and you can tell me what you like. So we had somebody on called Donna. She owns a what was the business called? Donna Cafe, Donna something.
Is she a food blogger as well?
She's a food blogger as well.
Lebanese?
Yes, Lebanese.
Okay,
and she owns a dessert company now, and she never wanted to own a dessert company. A sheikha came to her and said, we want you to do a dessert company. And so that was her situation. And it reminded me exactly what you were saying about people who just want to own it in order to compete with it. And that was exactly her situation. She said she never wanted to do this, but she was obviously worried about her passport and all this kind of stuff. So she was like, fuck, well.
Why not?
So now I have to do it.
Good for her.
Well, she doesn't want to. That's the problem. So, So now she's looking, I think, to go to Saudi Arabia or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Fuck it up. So what else does S&J Investment manage?
At the moment, just Maya.
Just Maya.
All our other companies are being lined up to go to bankruptcy. The real estate company Musawa. We exited with our partnership with Arab Tech in 2018.
Sure.
And it was a good exit for us.
Sure.
So they took over the company 100% in Bahrain. That was the same time they were doing the airport.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
So it was a good exit for us. It was one of the good investments we did, and we closed down they basically bought into the company and took over the shares 100%. We have Musawa, which was the real estate holding company. This is the one we've put up for bankruptcy, and we've got an architecture and interior design company, which was an award-winning company as well, and we're putting up that to bankruptcy as well because with the market situation and COVID, it disrupted a lot of things. And again, we are in a situation today that a lot of freelancers are doing architecture or interior design.
The industry is changing.
Industry is changing, so it's very difficult to maintain. So we'd rather move these companies to bankruptcy, and then open a virtual company for the head architect that we have, that she can operate, and focus more on interior design, which today has a bigger potential than architecture, because also real estate development is in a different position today.
Well, I heard an urban rumor, and I don't know if it's true or not, that there's 3 times as many apartments or space as their population.
Yes.
So my thought always of why it's being constructed is simply as FDI.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both agreed to that statement, and that's great. So I don't see what the future of that is. I mean, unless you're hoping that the population is going to grow 3 times the size.
Which, if we don't change a lot of things in the country, it will not.
It will not.
Let's be honest with you.
But I mean, the infrastructure couldn't handle. Can you imagine the roads?
No, it can't.
Yani, do you know the main road to
And
Adliya?
this is where you need a strategic planner to plan everything together exactly. And you have licenses giving to build, while tourism has no idea what they're up against and what numbers of people they need to
That's
bring.
that German guy, right?
Okay.
Kyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
While
He's a character.
and now you have a minister of tourism, and at the same time, a municipality is not aware of what exactly is being developed. LSS to have the infrastructure in place, and this is where you have different entities not talking to each other. And this is where the problem happens, and you've got real estate running because this is the best thing people can put their money in and secure to them. That's what they think is at the end of the day I can tap on it. I remember one of my investors in UAE, and a big name, big family name I used to go to back when I was in BBK, and I had a commodity fund for him that I was promoting to him, and he said, Sonia, if I cannot do this on the investment, I'm not going to put my money into it.
Oh, that's very old school.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately people still think that way. At the end of the day, they say even if it's not rented, I can still sell it, but you're losing opportunity here. You know, there's inflation. The value of your money is not the same.
I mean that, and there's also non-tangible goods as well, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I've never really understood commodities because I've always been an investor who believes in value rather than growth. A Warren Buffett type, right? For the long term, the 90s and early 2000s, people were very like growth heavy. Yeah. And I think now, especially now, we'll see the tech bubble kind of bursting. I think Amazon is trading, what, like 20% EBITDA, right? Or a factor of 20x EBITDA. You know, it's ridiculous, all those kind of industries. I mean, you've got...
But you have to have a balance of everything. You know,
absolutely.
When we basically did Maya, and Maya is a commodity at the end of the day, because cocoa beans are commodities, they're traded. And this is how we looked at it, that we have the real estate, which was high growth at that time, and we have the commodity, which would balance. And when it collapsed in 2008, and commodities went up, it literally balanced our losses in a beautiful way, which protected the group entirely. And this is where you need to have a balance of investments in everything. Even if you're focused on a specific classification of investment, the actual structure should be balanced enough to protect you and not just always focus on one sector.
Let me ask you, since you have some experience in real estate, I've always had this issue. Every time somebody came up to me and said, hey, you know what, buy this building, buy this plot, buy this land, buy this, I always look at them and I think to myself, well, I could do that, or I could buy an index fund, which gives me an alpha of 11 or 12%, and I don't have to worry because if the index fund goes down, especially like the S&P 500 or Wall Street, the whole world. Down J, sorry. The whole world is in trouble, right? That I'm not really worried about my personal finances. So I never understood that sales tactic. I never really understood it.
Yeah, you have to have a balance of both, because at the end of the day, even if the market collapses, real estate is income, supposed to be.
Sure.
Classified
Cash
as
flow.
income generating. Now, the only issue is that today the average rate of income that's coming from real estate has dropped considerably. Before it reached the stage of hype of 25%. Now it's down to 4 to 5%. But also 4 to 5% is better than putting it in fixed deposit, because fixed deposit today is not giving you 4 to 5%.
Sure, but that's not an argument though, is it?
But this is the issue. So when you put it into fixed deposit, it's basically it's not earning money for you. But if you put it into property and you earn 4% in as income on rental, at least it's better than getting 1% or 1.5%.
Sure. First of all, it's not 4% though, because you're not including inflation. Because when you do that, then you're really talking about
inflation 4%. Because without inflation, you're talking about 6 to 7%.
Okay, so let's say 4% with inflation. My counter argument to that would be you can still buy a AAA bond.
Yes,
right?
You're also taking very high risk.
And a AAA bond?
Buy a AAA bond. You still did you ever think Lehman Brothers would go under?
Yeah, but how many Lehman Brothers went under, and how many people went?
But why would you just go 100% put it in that? Put 40% in a high risk bond, or investment, and put another 30% in something else, and another 20% is cash.
Well,
that's how you do it.
The way I've structured my personal finances, I've put about 60% in index funds. And I put about 30% in high yield or junk bonds. And the final 10% I bought solid materials, gold. Okay. Right? And so I've spread my cash flow, my assets a little bit. And my problem with real estate is that I think it has intrinsic value. Right? Real estate is very easy that you can go to a bank and say, hey, you know what? I have this asset.
Yeah, you can use it as a collateral.
Exactly. And you can also use your bonds. You can also use your shares also as collateral, right? But banks usually prefer that. That's always my worry. What do you think about the younger generation who are now crazy about options?
The younger generation have a completely different mindset. They're definitely not into real estate. That's what I'm noticing. Definitely not.
By the way, have you seen what BlackRock is doing?
No.
They're buying up loads of real estate right now, and that's why prices are shooting up in America. And it's genius. So they're buying it up for their clients. Because the main driver
Now's the time to buy.
Right. So properties that used to be valued at like 300,000 are now being traded at almost 450,000. And the reason was, this is the BlackRock, this is what the guy who works there told me.
They went in and bought heavy.
They not just bought heavy, but they bought it for their clients. Because the main denominator, the main factor of what changes income is actually rent. 60% of your salary goes to rent in America. So by securing that asset for their businesses, they can then tie salary.
That's wise.
Jesus, isn't it?
Wise.
Yeah.
That's wise.
That is so clever.
That's good. Yeah, for countries where rent is high, it would be better to own.
Exactly. Yeah. So BlackRock is making sure to buy up as much property as they can for their business for their business partners and clients.
That's great.
Yeah.
And they're making money out of it as well.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh boy.
This is what Ahli United Bank also did. They basically went into property specifically for their client base, their high net worth individuals, and they did major deals. They made major profits returns, AUB, because of the projects that they did, and they just basically sold it to their client base. They didn't even have to go talk to anybody outside. It was pre-sold before it was even launched.
What do you think about the whole crypto thing?
I don't believe in it.
Yeah, right? Me and you are on the same page on this.
Everybody's trying to tell me, Sonya, open an account, trade on. I don't believe in it.
I don't believe in it either.
I don't know. I think it's a hype, and it's going to be a big blow, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. And
Family Office, Abdul Musnin.
Yes.
He was telling me that they're looking into building the first trading platform in Bahrain
for cryptocurrency.
And he thinks that, and I think I'm with him on this. He thinks that the younger generation is just so hyped.
They are hyped. Every young person you talk to
exactly
is put money into somewhere.
Absolutely, and I think he says personally he owns like a little bit of some things just in order to tell people I own a little bit. But I think he sees that the money generation will be coming from the transfer fees.
It definitely, but it's scaring me. It's scaring me. The other day, one of the moms was telling me a few months back, before the drop, that her son just sold and he bought a Tesla with the money that he made out of cryptocurrencies, and then you see what's happening. And
yeah, but they're only going to tell you the positive stuff,
exactly.
right? The mom isn't going to be like, my son lost like 50,000 BD.
Exactly. But I don't know. I'm not so sure. No matter how many times I've read and I sit with people to explain to me, I'm not getting it for some reason.
I think with Maya, you should either do a crypto thing, a blockchain thing, or an NFT, just because it attracts investors.
I agree. NFT maybe, or blockchain.
Something like that.
Blockchain, yeah.
There was very famously an IT company that added the name blockchain into its name, and their value increased by 30%. They have nothing to do with blockchain,
Imagine.
but just the marketing of it.
That's how you position it.
Exactly. And I think that Maya, if they do maybe, it could be a really interesting idea if you do like a seasonal chocolate and the purchaser who's buying it gets that NFT. That could be a really interesting thing. NFTs are working now. I just had someone on recently. He works with a lot of businesses, giving them advice on how to introduce NFTs into their like music events and stuff like that. And his argument was to a lot of his clients, you create an NFT that for example gives you like 1 year worth of free goods or chocolate, right? You put a bid, you put your minimum price of whatever that cost is, and then you allow that to trade.
Interesting.
And you create then this extra marketing to a whole new reach.
But you also have to have the logistics to transport and ship to them.
Yes, but his idea was with the music concert that he's working now with, that you buy that yearly ticket thing as an NFT.
So you have that ticket for every concert that you want to go to.
Exactly.
That makes sense. This is the issue. When it comes to Maya, because the perishability of the product and because the fact that you don't have the logistics infrastructure from Bahrain, this basically, it puts you in a crippled position.
True.
That you cannot be creative enough to add such bells and whistles to it to upscale it.
Absolutely. I totally hear where you're coming from. But I think if you just introduce that NFT project as for your local shop, and say like they can then get like whatever, like a milkshake, whatever, every day, and they just have to have that NFT, and then you make a bidding war, and then anyone could bid on it, could buy it, and then it could be traded, and then that's its own thing.
Yes. And have half an hour free consultation with me.
Something like that. Something like that. I don't know. I just think I think these kind of things are super interesting. I don't know what Web 3.0 is going to look like.
Yeah.
I don't know how the whole cyber space is going to look like. That's its own kind of animal.
Expect the unexpected.
I guess so. Absolutely. Are you gonna do any VR or AR with the products?
We would love to, because automating the production is definitely something we want to look at in the future, and that's part of the expansion that we have.
Sure.
We do artisanal products, but still there is certain elements that can be automated using IR, and it will reduce the time of work so that it's not taking over the job of the employee
artisan
or the artisan, but giving the artisan more free time to be more creative with the flavors and with the experimenting of the shelf lives and these sort of issues. Today they are more into production, which basically gives them delays the creativity part of it. If you automate certain parts, then you will leave them to be creative. And when it comes to artisanal products, you need to give them that space to be creative. You can't expect them to be creative when you have a production of hundreds of kgs that every day they have to make, and they have to monitor the efficiency, monitor the quality, check each piece. If you have 300 kgs of chocolate made for a customer, each piece has to be quality assured and checked, because it's an artisanal product. There are deficiencies, so there are a lot of products that you have to remove from the production. When you have artificial intelligence involved and you automate a lot of this, then you give more room for that creativity part. And I would love to do that. I was even talking to the smart kid a year back. He's a doctor, he's a medical doctor, but he's into artificial intelligence and has created the smart system for homes and robotics and everything. And I told him, I said, listen, if there is a way you can create that robot, which would be a barista, or that robot which would actually make the chocolate mix or certain elements, automate certain elements, that would be fantastic.
You can buy them. They cost about $10,000, and you can show them like how to break an egg.
Yeah.
And it will
and do it.
And it will do it. It will break eggs until it dies.
Yeah.
So
completely breaking it.
exactly. But I mean, these products do exist. Google Engineer just announced. Dan, do you mind looking it up? The Google the artificial intelligence from Google, who supposedly this AI, go on the news. On the news? Yeah, here. Google AI claims to be sentient. So they're supposedly this one engineer, a whistleblower, a leaker, came out and he claims that that Google has created the first sentient AI that can think and feel.
Yeah, I read this. I read this, yes.
And this AI now hired a lawyer.
Yeah.
Prove his existence. Isn't that amazing?
So the future is happening.
Isn't that amazing?
By robots.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Google put him on leave, obviously, for breaking his NDA.
Confidentiality, yeah.
Yeah, but he swears by it. He's put his whole career on risk.
Imagine. But yeah, I can see that future. I can see that future where you literally put your employees to focus on the creativity parts and everything, and and use artificial intelligence to automate a lot of work, even artisanal work.
I think if you can, I think you can just do it with your phone. Actually, with the new iPhone, if you do I think it's called an LDAR scan, a light readable scan of your cake, you can create that as a 3D item and then send it to people on WhatsApp, and they can actually see in front of their hand how the cake would look like. I mean that's a low issue cost and an easy implementation
of how things are done.
I don't know how
we do that. We do have I don't know what system my team uses, but we do, for example, wedding cakes. We do create an virtual image of it, how the cake that you envisage it to be, which will actually give you the size and the positioning of the flowers and the colors, and then you can play with it and tell us, no, change this and do that. We do that.
Do you see any kind of demand for that?
We had before, when we used to make a lot of wedding cakes and corporate and
events.
Wedding events, but again with COVID it's
all
changed.
Disappeared, huh?
But it's too expensive to do that for a 1 kg cake that you're charging 18 or 20 dinars per kg.
Okay. And how many kg is usually like a cake?
1 kg is it starts from 18 dinars.
Okay.
Then it's too much time constraint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we do have some customers that want to see it in different colors, and I'm sorry, not for 1 kg cake. You want to do a 5-tier cake or a 4-tier cake, that's 30 kgs in total. It's worth doing it, and we don't even charge extra to do that. But we're
just built into the price.
We did it. We did actually visuals for them, many of them were Saudi customers that actually got the cakes from us.
Doesn't this suck? Doesn't this suck that you can implement so many great ideas, but just because the market isn't willing to bear them?
No.
Isn't that, doesn't that suck?
True. Local customers, they won't be able to bear them, but external customers, when they came to us, we did many cakes for Saudi customers for their weddings, and we delivered it to them in our cars. It was a once-off thing that, and they arranged the access and everything for us, which was easy, but on a daily basis, it's difficult for you to do it.
I totally agree. I mean, that's again,
which is sad, because between Bahrain and Saudi, we should not have that restrictions of delivering retail products.
How long did it take for visa-free travel now? 60 years, something like that?
Exactly.
60, 70 years? Exactly. And now finally they're implementing it.
My daughter got engaged less than a month back.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And her friends who were studying with her in Berkeley wanted to come to Bahrain, and some of them are living in Dubai, and they have 10 years residency, some of them in Saudi. And I had to issue a visa for them to come into Bahrain, which was ridiculous. If she's living in Dubai and she has a 10-year residency, she doesn't need to have a visa to come into Bahrain. لا بواسطة بعد visa. Imagine. And I'm glad, I managed to do it, but not everybody can do that. And they had fun. My daughter had fun seeing them. It was so nice. They were all here with us. But that shouldn't be the case. If somebody lives in Dubai or Saudi and has a 10-year or 5-year or 1-year residency, they should be easily given access to come. And the airports, you should easily process everything, regardless of where they were born. If UAE has done their investigation on them and given them that residency, that means they're qualified.
That should be some standard to that, right?
Are you debating that UAE did not do a good job?
I agree. But that's the problem with bureaucracy, though, I think, right? That would be displacement of jobs.
Again, FDIs.
Yeah.
If you have this visa problem, how can you encourage FDIs?
Yeah, I agree.
And they loved Bahrain, by the way, and they've been living in Dubai since they were born. This is the first time they come, and they fell in love with the country.
Why do you think that so many expats come to Bahrain and they just live here permanently? They just love it.
I think the simplicity of Bahrain culture, friendly, as you rightly said.
I think privacy.
Privacy as well. I think, when you're talking about FDIs or tourism, in fact, tourism doesn't always necessarily need to be even youth and concerts and retirement tourism. People, exactly.
Turkey, South Africa.
There are people who've come here and worked here and they don't want to leave. What does that tell you? They were CEOs of big banks. Today, they're still living in Bahrain.
JC, a perfect example.
Exactly. Sanjeev, who was BDB, he's retired in Bahrain with his wife. He came from Singapore. He doesn't want to leave. He loves the country. He loves the people. He loves the friends he's made here. That tells you something. Ministry of Tourism, you don't have to be focusing on youth tourism always and, visits. You can literally bring retirees to live here. But again, what do you have for them? How many apartments you said are empty?
With 3 times as many apartments as their population.
Can't these be bought by retired people to live in?
I agree. And are you worried at all from the aspect of Saudi Arabia becoming more and more open? On the sense of it taking away business from Bahrain.
No, on the contrary. I think Saudi complements Bahrain if we play it right.
I think if you play it right, totally. But my concern is, I'm from Saudi. My concern is that when Saudi now opens cinemas, that killed a lot of cinemas in Bahrain.
Yeah.
Saudis eventually, in my opinion, alcohol is just a question of when.
Exactly.
And they're gonna either do it a system where they say Westerners in certain hotels, or they're going to play it like UAE, where they said only Dubai, and they're going to choose a small town and say only that town. It's going to somehow happen.
It's going to happen. It's sad that people didn't think it will happen.
In New Year last year, there was a hotel that was already serving alcohol in Riyadh, under the table, obviously.
I'm not surprised.
But it was a hotel, and they were happy to offer it.
I'm not surprised, and this is the sad part that here in Bahrain, when we were telling people, you need to have alternative strategies and not rely 99.9% on, actually 150% on Saudi.
Yeah.
They weren't understanding it. We were seeing this to happen. We always believed there will come a day where there will be a separation between Mecca and Medina and the other states in Saudi, and
Absolutely.
Everything will be open. This was expected any time. It was really sad that people here were not visioning that part and relying constantly on Saudi. Nevertheless, I still believe there's opportunities for us.
I'm sure your parents, if you don't mind me saying this, must have seen how Saudi was before the 70s.
Yes.
Right? And it was a very different, Iran as well, before the 70s was a very different country.
It was a different country. I used to go to Iran when I was, until I was 11 years old when the revolution happened.
Oh, you're not that old.
I'm 55 years old.
No, you don't look it at all. I don't believe that.
I'm going to be 55 on Friday.
Oh, well, congratulations on Friday then.
Thank you. My grandparents, Iran was London to them, and every summer we used to go there 3 months, and we used to go to these amazing restaurants, and there was live music, dancing. We had fun, and when the revolution happened, they shifted to London.
Yeah.
And that was their comparison, imagine. And that's where Iran was. That's how it looked, and that's how it felt. And the weather was beautiful, and it was a beautiful place to go. Now, I haven't been. Since I was 11, I haven't been to Iran. And I don't think
It might not even be in...
It might not be the same.
Might not be in your lifetime that it'll return, or maybe in your daughter's lifetime.
Exactly. But again, I still see there's a big opportunity for us with Saudi opening up. Why? Because Saudi is now bringing traffic. And when you are... Let's take it as an example. When you travel to Europe, you don't go from different
Sure.
countries.
Sure.
You go to Italy, and then from Italy you take the train. You go to Paris. You basically, I was in Geneva for 2 weeks for a conference. We finish at 6 o'clock. We take the car and we go to Devon, or we go to Monterey, or we go to other places. So there is always an opportunity.
Totally agree.
There is always an opportunity. But we need to also position Bahrain in a way that easy access, visas entry from the causeway. We need to have the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure ready to bring people. We need to have the entertainment for them to come and be encouraged to come and spend a night here or 2 nights in Bahrain. If you play it right, it's going to work.
Because I think the 3 businesses that were crying the most during COVID, one was the shisha places. Mm-hmm. They were in disaster. Then it was the laundromats, services, and finally these 2-3 day apartments, rentals. Yeah. All 3 were
3-star hotels, basically.
Anything like that. That was completely almost death.
But even 5-star hotels. 5-star hotels were also dead. They started then capitalizing on using the rooms for COVID cases. That's where they recovered a bit. The quarantine period, when Saudi had a quarantine period
for 2 years almost, for really
experts, the quarantine was happening in Bahrain, so that's helped a bit of the hotel industry. I'm still a firm believer. Saudi opening up is a big opportunity for us.
Before we go to Saudi, I just want to tell you a story. I was in the Ritz. You know, they have that the cigar lounge bar.
Yes.
Just as I think the 1 or 2 days before Bahrain locked down everything, I remember going there to have a burger and a drink, and the whole place was empty. It was nobody. It was just me and just the musician who was playing the keyboard and the singer. And I have never felt more awkward in my entire life, because every time she finished a song, she would look at me.
Are you still there?
Does he like it? And then I just would have had my burger in my mouth, and I would be like, I have never eaten faster in my entire life to get out of that situation. I was like, oh yeah, great music, great sound. And I quickly went back home. But I love how positive you are. I think opening up Saudi Arabia does have potential.
Big potential.
Have potential for businesses operating in Saudi. Yeah. I'm worried about the tourism industry from Saudis coming to Bahrain. I think the younger generation, the older generation, you know, people who are like me in their 30s and 40s will still come to Bahrain because of, you know, history and family. But I'm worried about the younger generation, you know, who are 18, 19.
We have a problem there. And if Bahrain does not change,
that's my concern, right? Yes. And I think, I don't even know if the younger generation will even want to stay in the Gulf.
That's another issue. But let me tell you something. I never thought a day would come where my daughters will plan a trip to Saudi.
True.
And today they do.
True.
Today they do.
True.
They literally do. They drive, they go there, and they love going sightseeing at the museum and go and have salt burger and everything. So things do change, but also you have to have the attraction.
I agree.
You know, and today we have a minister of tourism, and I'm putting my hopes up on her, being a woman, being young herself. She's in her, I think, 30s. She should have a different perspective, better than me, you know, in my age. So I'm hoping she would position Bahrain in a way that, okay, we're not going to get 100% of what we got before. We should have diversification. We should not rely only on Saudi, but the idea should be not just on the Saudis to come, but even the expats who now visit Saudi should consider stopping over Bahrain.
I agree.
Because you have a causeway.
I agree.
And you have a train that will be coming up in a few years as well.
I agree.
So there is an opportunity that we need to capitalize on and focus on. And today we still have a lot of people who work in Saudi but have their families here.
I agree.
And that's again another opportunity, because we have amazing school system here. And this is why they have their families here, to be in the local schools. So this is where Ministry of Tourism has to focus on education tourism.
Absolutely.
health tourism,
Absolutely.
industrial tourism. Tourism is not just about, again, the young children. Young children
Or
can be
concerts
lured-
or whatever.
Exactly. Young children can look at Bahrain as an education hub for them because it's safe for the parents to see their kids live here and study here, and weekends go back home. And,
Totally
and,
agree.
and train here and develop here. So you need to redirect the positioning of tourism when you're targeting the population in Saudi, be it the locals or the expats.
I totally agree. The vision I could see, what you're describing, is that if you have a very safe, very high level education system in Bahrain, you bring people in maybe from Oxford or Cambridge, literatures in, right? Pay them good money, make sure they set up that school, bring some recognition, some marketing, good name, and then you can compensate that marketing of that nightlife in maybe Dubai.
Yes.
Right? And it's only 1 hour flight, it's 100 BD.
You can do a full package, by the way.
Exactly, and you can like do a little bit like that, right? And you can market it that way. And with Saudi, you can market it maybe history or maybe finance and working. My biggest arguments I have with people over Riyadh and Dubai is I always say this: if you're a consultant, where do you want to live? Right? Do you want to live next to the beach, or do you want to live in a desert?
Exactly.
Right? And Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, the Big Four, they might have their headquarters in Saudi Arabia,
But they might be working from here.
but they might be working from here or from there.
You can still do that.
Exactly, because I don't see how you can convince a consultant to spend 7 days a week in Saudi Arabia, regardless of how many nightlife activities you might have. They will still want to see the water.
You just mentioned.
Sure.
And I'm going to go back to my daughter's engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
She got COVID a day before her engagement,
Oh,
so we had
no.
to delay her
Okay.
party by a week. Now, one of her friends who was coming from Egypt was already on the plane when we found out she has COVID, so she came.
Okay.
So now she's quarantined. She can't even see her friend, and I was afraid to bring her home because I didn't want to, her to get exposed. So I told her, Mariam, I'm going to come and pick you up. It was like on the Friday, which was supposed to be the event day, and I'm going to take you out. And I went and picked her up.
Was she very depressed? Your daughter?
My
because of-
daughter, I'm nervous breakdown.
Really?
Imagine she's, like less than 24 hours, we had to cancel everything.
Oh, no.
But I went and picked her up, and I took her to Nasif to have breakfast. And she loved it. For the first time, she's trying egg with tomato. For this first time, she's trying our bilalit. For this first time, she's trying our mayo.
Egg and tomato?
Yeah.
How old is your daughter? What do you mean she's first time trying
Not
it?
my daughter, her friend.
Oh, her
who
friend.
came
Okay.
from Egypt.
I was about to say, what have you been feeding your daughter?
Her friend who came from Egypt.
Okay.
And I'm sitting with her in Nasif. She sees the sea. She loved the breakfast. We stayed there for 4 hours because she loved the food so much. We're walking, and I said, okay, you know what? I'll take you to Bahrain Fort, to Green Bar, and we'll have coffee there. On our way, this guy comes and he goes, do you want a boat ride? Oh, you have boat rides? And I didn't know. He goes, yeah, if you want a joint one, is this much. If you want a private one, is this much. I said, okay, Mariam, you want a boat ride? She said, yes, I'm in Bahrain. I said, okay, let's take a private one. So he takes us for 20 minutes. He brings us right here next to Reef Islands and everywhere and takes us back to Nasif. It was amazing. She loved it. And it was like 12 o'clock noon time, which was really hot, but it was so nice. We finished, we went, I took her to Bahrain Fort, and I took her all around, and I started explaining things, and she realized how Bahrain culturally is rich, which she never knew about this, and she was so impressed. And then we sat in Green Bar Inc., which was the cafe there, and we had coffee, and she loved it. And then my son-in-law came and picked her up and took her out to other places. She loved it.
That's beautiful.
First time she came here, and she loved it, and she's 25 years old. She's young, and and I didn't take her to concerts or this, but I took her day trips, and she stayed for 2 days and then left, and she was crying leaving. She can't wait to come back and bring her mom back with her because she had so much fun. If you package it properly and you do tour packages where you come to Saudi and then in the same package 2 nights in Bahrain and to Dubai, it will work well for all.
Absolutely. Show them the Tree of Life.
Exactly.
Show them the industrial area.
You can still make it work.
Absolutely.
You can still make it work.
No, I totally agree with you. I think for the tourism industry, it definitely has a lot of potential, especially with foreigners. I think with maybe more conservative travelers, I think you have a real opportunity.
Who want culture, who want that
Exactly.
friendly aspect.
Exactly.
Capitalize on it. Don't
Exactly.
make it friendly business. Make it
Exactly.
friendly personal.
Exactly.
Where people would come and enjoy and have fun and relax and, and have that sense of culture. And we do have that richness in culture. And the beauty is, when you go around, you see locals. When I went to Bahrain Fort, there was a local guy sitting there at the reception on a Friday and giving us the ticket to go in and everything. It makes a difference when people see locals everywhere. It makes that difference, that connection.
I totally agree. I think with what's occurring right now that I'm seeing with tourism, both in Saudi, they're preparing. They're bringing back a lot of natural habitat, animal life, and UAE as well. And UAE has already started selling hunting tickets. Mm-hmm. They know that's a boom because it's disappearing from Africa,
yes.
And that's going to come right now to UAE. I know that at least like 4 gun shops has opened.
Oh,
wow, yeah, who are introducing like live hunting, and the same thing is going to happen in games. The same thing is going to happen in Saudi and maybe also in Bahrain. I don't know if that market would exist. I mean, I don't know if there's enough open land where you can support something like that.
See, one of the things UAE did when we had Formula One before Abu Dhabi started was they were packaging visits to Bahrain Formula One while they were staying in Dubai.
Exactly.
Why can't we do the same?
Don't you think that? On that same subject, I know a lot of CEOs who have companies in Bahrain but live in Dubai. I think that needs to be rectified.
Yes.
I don't think that's okay. I don't think you can have a residency in Dubai and operate from Dubai, exactly. But your business is here in Bahrain.
Your business is here and you have an address of the business here.
Yeah.
No, it's... I think
Saudi had that same problem though.
but us being as GCC, I think we need to open up more. We need to open up the logistics more. We need to open up the borders more to each other, to complement each other. We shouldn't be afraid of each other.
No, I agree.
When I said competitive collaboration in businesses, it goes the same for countries as well. Each country, each of us as GCC, we have our own edges, our own beauties. If we work together as one continent, we can create an amazing location for every person to come from all over the world.
There's no reason why GCC can't be like Europe.
Exactly.
Right?
And why
one
do
currency?
We have to also focus only for people to come from specific part of the world? Why aren't we focusing on the other part of the world for them to come and visit this part of the world?
Look, if I'm not mistaken, both the Saudi riyal, the Bahraini dinar, and the UAE currency are all tied to the dollar anyways.
Yes. The only difference is Kuwait, where it's a basket of currencies.
Yeah, so at that point, you might as well just have one local currency.
Exactly. Exactly. But again, you have a lot of potential people in Africa that you can target, in Asia that you can target to come and visit this part of the world.
Labor is already moving from India to Africa here in Bahrain.
Exactly. I was in Cote d'Ivoire. I was seeing what was happening, the potential that these countries have, but also I could see the potential of FDIs that we can even bring here.
Have you ever traveled a lot in Africa, by the way?
No, I haven't. This was, I've been to Egypt, but this
that's not Africa.
Yeah, but Cote d'Ivoire was the first time I go, and I was blown away.
I mean, I've been to South Africa and Namibia, and the thing that really shocked me was, 70 or 80% of the population doesn't have running water, electricity. That's its own animal. But when you go to the ports of the mind, it is better than what you see in Europe.
Sophisticated, I know.
And it's because of all the Chinese money, and they own those properties.
Yes.
And it really shocked me because you have towns in Namibia where the signs are in Cantonese, and they don't even allow black people in the shops. It's just Chinese workers. And it really, it just blew me away. I never thought that I would see like a Porsche Jeep in Namibia, of all places.
Yeah, exactly. I was on the flight to Cote d'Ivoire, and next to me sitting was this amazing award-winning architect that has done mansions in Cote d'Ivoire that we don't have here in Bahrain. He showed me the pictures. I was blown away. He goes, I said, you seriously did these projects? He said, yeah, and he was going for the CEO of Africa CEO Forum. And he goes, I've done one project in Saudi only, nowhere else in the Gulf, only in Saudi one, but I've been here for the last 10 years and I'm doing projects for them. When he showed me the architecture, it blew me away. The design and how modern and how beautiful it was and the landscaping and everything. I'm like, where are we? What are we doing?
I think there is going to be. I think the way it's heading right now, we're gonna see maybe Dubai still be the tourist hub, Abu Dhabi and the rest of the areas will do their own things. Saudi Arabia with Riyadh is always going to be business centered. You'll always have Mecca. That's always Medina. That's always going to be stable for tourism. Always Vatican. It's always going to be that. Yeah. I think Bahrain, what it's heading right now is medical industry.
Education and medical.
Yeah. And right next to the right at the bottom of the island, I forgot what that new island is called. The Palm Beach, Palm something. At the very bottom of Bahrain, they've made this. The Dura, maybe?
Dura.
They built they're building a hospital right now near there.
King Abdullah Medical City.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's a tie with Saudi Arabia, I believe.
Yes, they're funding the whole project. It's going to be a full-fledged medical city where it will have universities and hospitals as well.
It's already occurring.
Exactly. And this will add value to the real estate going on there, like Dura, which is
amazing, by the way, because there's nothing.
Exactly. And now they're doing phase, I think, 5 or 6, because that project is coming up, so there is opportunities for them there.
Absolutely. There's one military base around there.
Yes, the Air Force.
The Air Force.
The Royal Air Force.
I always thought that those buildings were for the military personnel, and then I was corrected, and I was like, what? No? Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the point, I believe, when you said that retirement tourism. I think with that medical industry.
Yes.
Right, you have a little historical science and then you have old businesses still, who might need a consultant or maybe somebody with some experience.
Family businesses. If you want to retain family businesses, you still need the expertise to come in and support you as well.
Absolutely. And especially if you could find some training schools for family businesses, there's a lot of them that are running.
Yeah. This is one of the drawbacks or opportunities, I would say, is we don't have the proper infrastructure for vocational training. And if we tie this up with what the private sector needs and create these schools, this is going to be a major opportunity, not just for Bahrain, but to service the entire region. Culinary, as an example, we're so heavy into the F&B, and we don't have a culinary school. We have the hotel management school, but we don't have a culinary school where you would actually graduate chefs and of different levels, not just senior chefs, and waiters and baristas and all these. If you want to also perfect your service level to attract tourism, you need to put standards. Again, we go back to regulation.
Education and regulation.
In UAE,
absolutely.
A waiter and barista has to go through a training program and exam, and if they fail 3 times, they're out of the country. They're not licensed to work. That means they don't fit with the standards that they have. Quality, standards, this is what the government has to look at. The government starts to be more of a regulator and impose quality assurance standards to bring up the country to the level where it would be an attraction instead of competing with the private sector. They shouldn't, this is what their focus should be.
Do you think that the only thing that I can imagine that would really bring in a lot of money in a short term, but it would create a lot of waves, would be gambling? It already exists off the coast, right?
It's the ideal location.
Exactly. I mean, I know that some organizations like having it on these container ships, right? And people then go out and see and then have some fun there. You could make it in Hawa Island,
there is a major development going on. They're building a beautiful hotel concept, which is like a Maldives replica.
Absolutely.
I have a casino there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you have next to France, that small country, not Constantinople, where it's just like the gambling hump.
Macau, is it called?
No, Macau is in China.
In China, no.
Christ, my geography skills are
Yeah,
terrible.
even me.
It's right next to Cannes. It's like a 3-hour drive
Monte
down
Carlo.
Monte Carlo.
Yeah. They have the biggest casino there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reason why that can't duplicate it.
Make Hawar the Vegas of Bahrain.
Yeah, make it the Vegas of the GCC.
Exactly.
Right? You can have a massive tourism, and it's disconnected, right?
Don't just make it a resort. Make
There's
it
rumors
more.
that Saudi is thinking about doing that.
There is. They are, I think, already doing it.
They're building some island near.
Yeah.
So I could. MBS is a smart man, and I'm sure he's looking exactly at these things.
It, I think, from what I understand, it's already happening.
Yeah.
The island is being reclaimed.
Exactly. It makes sense. Why not? I mean, why not? Right?
Why not?
Because you have issues with outside influences. China's right now in Pakistan, in Iran, obviously, and most of in Africa. U.S. influences with Saudi Arabia, with the Gulf countries, and I think the reason I'm bringing this topic up is I think that like in India, this westernization that has occurred in our culture. In the next 10 to 20 years, I think we're going to see a huge clash, and I think we're going to see, almost like in the 70s, maybe not to that same extreme, but we're going to see a counter movement, right?
Everything is expected because things are opening up, and you can see people have their own mindset, their own vision, and they want that change to happen.
I think like with a thob, right? It's almost totally disappeared in the younger generation, and I think there is going to be a return to it.
Yeah.
India never really had its own culture until 1947. When was India's independence?
Yeah, 47.
Yeah, 1948, 1947. So they were always just kingdoms, smaller ones together, and then the British took them over. And now with Modi, you can see them saying we want our own language, we want our education system, we want this. There's a real counter movement, and that's why we so many Muslims have troubles right now in India because of exactly those policies. And I think that we're going to see it, which I don't think is negative. I think that
change is good. Change is good, and you have to have that vision for change, and you have to prepare yourself for this change. You can't expect to ad hocly just
I agree.
ترجع أمور يعني
Exactly.
which is happening. ترجع
Exactly.
يعني no, that doesn't work.
I mean,
okay, it might survive for a short while, but you'll be out of the game completely.
I totally agree.
And if you position yourself efficiently, you will create that vision within the people. But you need to make it and strategize it in such a way that you sell it to everybody.
I agree, but I think it needs to take a step almost further, if you don't mind me saying. I think one of the biggest issues with angel investors and VCs in general is the attractiveness of the Western market, right? Unicorn businesses and that kind of stuff. And there's no reason, because I've done my research here in the Middle East, in the Gulf countries, there is only really one streaming company, which is OSN. Everything else is Disney owned by US. You've got Apple TV owned by the US, Netflix owned by the US. There is a gap in this market.
There is a gap.
And I think that, local content, local TV, Tash Matash has existed for 40 years, 50 years.
People still watch it.
And it can come back. I mean, there's a reason why we're doing this podcast but in English, right? We could have done it in Arabic, but the market isn't there for it yet.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Anything you'd like, by the way, to add for your business? How would they find you? Follow you on Twitter, on Instagram?
My Instagram is Sonya Janahi.
Okay.
And the company's Instagram is Chocolaterie and My Delice.
Sure.
We're located in Rufa.
Sure.
Both the factory, the retail, and the mini cafe, we've shrunk it down, but we still have the main menu items.
Sure.
And I look forward to a better future.
Absolutely.
Very positive, honestly.
Absolutely. And anything else about your business for potential investors if they're interested?
Oh, definitely. We are.
Give me the sales list. Come on. Give me the sales pitch.
Maya has a major opportunity. It's a proven track record.
Sure.
It's sustained major blows of losing franchisees, losing 80% of its cash flow. Even management, we had some management that basically messed up the company, but it's still standing.
Sure.
It still has its reputation. People who know the brand still come to the brand no matter where they are in the world. I went and gave the concierge in the apartment in London a box of chocolate, and he goes, "Oh, Maya, and I didn't even think this person would know Maya, but apparently he follows Maya, and he didn't know that I'm the owner of Maya, and you know, and that
You were
was,
shocked.
I was shocked, you know. But Insider Travel did a piece on us, and that piece reached millions of people globally, and today people that are even in the U.S. or in Europe or in everywhere, you know, do appreciate and know the brand, and they come looking for the brand when they come to this part of the world. So there is a potential. What is missing today is the cash flow to take this company to the next level. We are an organization, we're dynamic, we're not a greedy, we don't want to keep 100% of the company, we want to see the company's success story. So if it takes to bring in people to own a big chunk of this company and take it to this next level, let them call me.
Give me the cherry on the cake. What kind of returns are you expecting? What kind of returns are you hoping for?
We're not hoping for. We're expecting, because we've done our homework based on track record, extensive track record. You're looking at an IRR of not less than 20%.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And what kind of growth expectation?
That's a very, very, very conservative growth that
Okay.
we're looking at in terms of an IRR of 20%. We're looking at investors coming in to actually have positive performance from year 3 of injecting money into the company. That's your break even, and the IRR actually grows to almost 45% in year 5.
MashaAllah.
That's when you take it to IPO.
MashaAllah. And what kind of price range are you hoping for buyers?
Uh,
Hoping for buyers. I know that
hoping.
you're still looking. If you want to say it.
No, I don't want to say something and then I get shot. I'd rather finish the valuation efficiently and have it.
What
properly
valuation
done.
would you like to hear?
See, I'll be very honest with you. Today, the valuation has dropped much lower than what it was in 2008. In 2008, 3 years after we launched this company, the valuation hit $30 million.
Okay.
Today, the valuation is $10 million, roughly, plus minus. That's basically, but we're even fine-tuning to see if it's 10 or if it's lower. But definitely, I'm sure it's not higher based on the inflation and recession. But the company will reach a valuation of 30 million, if not more, based on the expansion strategies that we have for the injection of the liquidity into the company.
And I think that for a lot of investors who are potentially looking at it, it's not just the buy-in of potential returns, it's also about the connections, the soft power that it brings to be a part of this great board that it would be with SJ Investment. Sorry, we'll cut that part out. Part of SJ Investment. And yeah, I think any buyer would be very fortunate. And I think, yeah.
Well, it's an opportunity for us and for them.
I think so
that
as
we can
well.
both capitalize on, learn from, and make it a positive success story.
I mean, don't forget, GCSE right now, the GDP is growing in every single country. And local businesses do have a potential, especially when they're owned in Belgium, right? It's has a great brand record and history.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.